It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Jason Snell sitting in for Leo. I got Andy. I got Alex. I got Doc Rock. Amazing. And what are we going to talk about? All the operating systems. All of them. They were all released. We're going to break it all down. What's new in Mac and iOS and iPadOS and Apple Watch and Vision Pro and you name it next on MacBreak Weekly.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 939, recorded September 17th, 2024. Easily Squirrelable Brains. Welcome back. It's MacBreak Weekly. I'm Jason Snell, sitting in once more for Leo. Don't worry, everything happened the last 2 weeks. He'll be back next week when nothing is going on and he'll complain about it, but that's fine. We get to have fun again because, let's see what happened. All the operating systems came out. Literally all of them. We're going to talk about that. We have iPhones on the way. Just so much. So sorry, Leo, you missed it. But I have three wonderful panelists with me to talk about all of this for the next 2 to 8 hours. First up, coming to you from New England, from a library that shall not be named. It is my good friend for murmur years, Andy Anutko. Hello.
Hello, Jason. This really is, I'm not comparing you to a substitute teacher, but last week we actually were getting comments about, oh my God, that was like such a wonderful vibe that was going on. I think it's because like this is like the sort of week when the teacher is out and the first day that they were out, the AV cart was already set up in the classroom when you came in, and you knew, and it's been there all week long. So, oh yay, more movies! Okay, let's watch Titanic and pretend that it's a STEM engineering class. Yay!
Yep, that's pretty much it. And you in the back there, do whatever. I don't care. I'm just the substitute. A little closer to me, at an undisclosed location, very near me. It's Alex Lindsay. Hello, Alex.
Hello. Good to be here.
It's good to have you here. How are you enjoying this reign of the substitute terror?
It's great. The kid, the teacher's away, and so all of us are just going to have a good time. Yeah,
all the kids are going to play. Basically, to use Andy's scenario, since I am also a panelist on this show, essentially, it's as if the substitute teacher was just one of the kids in the class.
Oh my God, that used to happen in my school.
Bad
sometimes.
Idea. It's a bad idea.
And I was often the kid. They say, Mrs. Bellissimo is not in here, and we're just going to watch a movie. Andy, you're in charge of like controlling the class. Sure. I'm like, oh God,
that always goes well.
I was real popular before. Now I'm super popular.
Now we answer the question everybody's been wondering, which is, but if Jason's replacing Leo, who's replacing Jason? And this week, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our additional panelist. He is a creator. He is a legend, and also the community manager at Ecamm, whose software drives our show. It's Doc Rock. Welcome back, Doc.
Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you guys. Good to see old faces. Well, I didn't mean it like that kind of old. I mean, we're
used to it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Years at many conferences over the many years. Years.
Yeah, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We're ready to go. It's all good. OS week. This is what it is. On Monday, Apple released everything. Like I said, everything. iOS, yeah. iPadOS, macOS, yes. tvOS, sure. watchOS, yep. visionOS 2, yes, yes. All the things were updated. I'm sure I missed some, but it's fine. Like, trust me, the HomePod OS probably got an update. It's fine. Yep. Everybody's happy. So we got a lot to talk about, but we should probably dive in with iOS 18, which is pushing out to everybody's phones right now. If you haven't gotten it already, you will be getting it soon. A bunch of new features in here, including, I think, the home screen customization, which is going to be a big deal for a lot of people. Change your icons, move those icons anywhere you want, kind of like how they've always been able to do it on Android, but you can do it on iOS now. And I think that's a fun new feature. A bunch of other stuff in there that we will talk about. Control Center gets a huge revamp where you have the ability to resize items and multi-pages of Control Center. There's a lot of really nice quality of life things in here. However, and we'll get to more about this later, it's also worth mentioning the elephant that's not in the room, which is that everybody's waiting for Apple Intelligence, which, again, if you haven't been paying attention, not in iOS 18.1. Because it's going to be in iOS 18.1, which comes out next month, sometime next month, Apple has said, but not now. So we are sort of left right now kind of getting to celebrate the other features of iOS 18. Alex, what are you most excited about in these features on your iPhone?
I've been in the beta, so it doesn't feel like there much.
I know.
And,
we're pretending that this is new, even though we've been using it since June.
Yeah, I don't. The thing that I guess the thing that was the most shock and awe for me is still the iPads. I know we're not talking about the iPad, but the calculator. I mean, being able to open something up in Notes and draw on something, like just draw complex equations, and have it just say and just equal, and then erase something and do something else and just have the equal change again. It was just kind of like that for me. That was the big. I just keep talking about it because I just can't get over it. As far as the AI stuff, I have to admit, it's not like, I have ChatGPT open all the time on my phone. I have it on my computer. I don't really feel like I have Midjourney opened all the time. I'm using stuff with Anthropic. And so I know that the press, I watched a lot of people writing about this of like, oh, the sales are depressed because there's the AI didn't go out with the phone, and I'm not buying it. Like, I'm not buying it. It just doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. I mean, I'm sure it'll be great when it comes out, but it's not like the feature that I was waiting for from the OS. Mostly what I was waiting for, which I didn't get, which was the 4K per eye spatial, which may still be possible. So there's a question about whether they just haven't rolled that part of the API out yet. So they now have the new phone will have two sensors that are capable of providing 4K per eye, but we didn't see that come out in the OS. And so I was kind of like, like, that was the only, I only need one thing from this, and I didn't get it. So I'm actually delaying, just waiting for a little while to see if that actually happens before I buy the phone. Because without that, I don't feel like I wasn't here for last week when they did the announcement, but I didn't feel like the camera upgrades were dramatic. I think there was a dramatic change between 14 and 15. I think if you have a 14 or earlier, the 16 is a dramatic change. If you have a 15, like it's probably not this may or may not make sense.
That's probably the right way to do it. And back on iOS 18, Andy, do you have any things that jump out at you with the OS, whether you bought a new phone or not?
I've installed it on an iPhone 14, which is my newest phone. I'm just blown away, but I think you put the nail on the head. I just love all the little improvements that they put onto it. We often talk about how there's like a back of the desk drawer feature, like at Apple, where there are features that they're working on it. They really want to do this, but when you switch to when they introduce iCloud, all of that has to be pushed aside to make iCloud work across all the devices. When you have Apple Intelligence, all kinds of things have to be pushed back to make sure that other things work. And this seems like a time where they took a lot of those really great features out of the back of the drawer that were technically possible forever, like being able to finally customize the layout of your icons, like hiding stuff that you never use, for instance. And I think that a lot of people are going to find a really new, wonderful relationship with their phone when they can actually just arrange groups of apps, groups of things the way that they like on their device. It is such a productivity booster, and all the customization across the board is my favorite single feature. I mean, Apple even went so far as the lock screen camera shortcut is an old feature. It's been around for a while, but with iOS 18, let's say that your camera app is Halide or Adobe Lightroom and not the built-in camera app, you can have that shortcut zap to Halide. That's just across the board. I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun over the next 3 or 4 weeks, seeing the way that you can arrange things so that they're exactly the way that you expect them to be, and not have to get used to how Apple set them and didn't let you change them. Great stuff.
Doc, what are you thinking? Anything jump out at you from this new round?
Yeah, I have a couple big ones, and Alex kind of covered it, but the fact that even on the phone, Math Notes works. Okay, I travel all the time, and when I'm not coming to Boston or whatever, I'm always going to Japan. So the fact that I could just open up Apple Notes, right? I could type in 100,000 yen and hit the equal sign, and it goes 750 US. Like, I instantaneously know if I do 100,000 euros, it's going to give me that automatically, right? If I'm doing things where I need to do a calculation, it's there. Now, the struggle bus is going to be for me, and I'm hoping that they've opened this up at some point. I am Fantastical through and through. been there since day one. I think it was like Macworld 2012, and I haven't left. Well, day one's a different app. Anyway, the fact that intelligence works so well, but it's so heavily integrated to calendar, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make my way back to calendar and not feel oogy about it because Fantastical is life. It's driving me nuts.
I've got a tip for you there. This is I mean, because I've had to deal with this too. There's so many things that happen, and it's a frustration that I've got, right? That Apple wires a lot of stuff into calendar, and even like data detectors. Somebody will send you a time and it'll offer to create it in calendar, but you can't say use Fantastical instead. It just doesn't do that. The trick, and it's not great, but it's a good workaround, is you log in to all your same calendars with calendar. You turn off all your notifications for calendar, and all calendar, basically at that point, calendar just sits there and maintains a duplicate. And then when Apple Intelligence will be able to read from that synced version of your calendar. Anything that gets pushed to the calendar ends up on your calendar, and Fantastical will see it too. But it's a little bit silly. Like there should be another way to do that. But essentially, Fantastical, I think, can still read from your system calendar set as well, or it can just independently read from your servers. So there's some options there. But I hear you. It's one of those things. It's great that Apple has this integrated calendar, but I don't use it. And I really don't. Yeah. I want to benefit from the integration, but I don't want to use their app.
And honestly, that's going to end up being the same thing for reminders too. All of the guys, I was talking to Vardy recently, and he's all Todoist is life, for him. So I love these new features. And to Andy's point, it's like the final polish on everything. The one comment that absolutely drives me insane is, we had this on Android forever. Well, let me just put it to you like this. Animals were walking on this planet for a long time. We did it better. We don't have to be first. You just got to do it better. Okay, so
we're both marching under the same meteorite.
Yeah, but I just find that crazy.
But you're right.
A lot of people, every year there's another thing that comes out that sort of redoes what has already been done. That is basically life. That's life in general. So I don't know. I just find that comment almost borderline useless at this point. Apple is very cautious because of where they sit on the timeline. They have to be worried about crazy things. We talked about Gate coming up next week. Something will be gated, and people will be like, "I'm gonna sue because they didn't put microwave control. I want to heat up my Hot Pockets."
I got a paper cut from the new paper box that's not plastic. Ow! I mean, there's always people are.
Oh my God!
I've said this before, but just to repeat this, it's also a story about scale. Like any product that ships millions and millions and millions of units, even if you have like 0.001% failure rate, it's going to be hundreds of failures, if not thousands of failures. You do the math. You do math notes and tell me what the number is, but it's going to be a lot. And so then with the internet, everybody's connected. So those 100 people are like, oh my God, my iPhone I touched it and it cracked right in the center, and Crackgates begins to spread. And it's almost like you can't make a flawless product. That's why what I always tell people when the gates happen is that's why there's a warranty. Like it shouldn't be 10% or 50% of units that are failing. But if 0.001% of units are failing, you know what? Take it back. Get a new one. They'll give it to you. It's not a problem.
This is a good time for the annual advice that usually the first couple of weeks that a new iPhone comes out, Cupertino is actually sending out hunting licenses to individual Genius Bar stores to say, because they want to know if someone dropped a phone and the screen broke, we want to see it. We want to see how it broke.
They capture them.
If a power supply went buoy. So, I mean, even if you, as usual, if you break your phone and it's totally your fault, okay, the best advice is to take it to the Genius Bar, be completely honest, because no matter what the state of your phone is, whether it's new or old, there's a chance that you'll fall under their we're awesome policy, where they say, you know what, you tried to take care of your phone. We can see by your records you're not bringing in waterlogged phones every week. We'll swap it out for free, and even though it's out of warranty.
But we used to capture for 30 days, just so you know.
But exactly, and the other thing is that when they have a new phone, even if it was totally your fault, like you forgot it was in your pocket and you dove into the ocean with it, take it, and it's like 1 week old. Do take it to the Apple stores. Say what happened. It's possible that on that list they got from Cupertino engineers is that we want to see water damaged devices. We will authorize the replacement of up to 4 devices, particularly if it's saltwater damage, because we want to take it apart and see where the water got in and stuff like that. It's not a guarantee, but it's yet another piece of advice to. Another happy time of year when you might actually feel the blessings of the 6 colors.
If there was a problem with iPhones where they had water damage, what would they call that gate? Because Watergate's taken, right?
Ocean Gate. Oh wait, no,
I don't know what they would do. Oh, my mind is just blown. I got a couple favorite features that I wanted to mention. I mentioned Control Center. Okay. Multiple pages, but the other things that are going on here is the widgets in Control Center are resizable, and third-party apps can now place items in Control Center. So Apple's example is like your electric car has an app. You can put in Control Center and control your car just straight from Control Center without even going to the app. You can put multiple lights or other controls from HomeKit and size them appropriately and put them in Control Center, which is a thing that I've absolutely done. Also, it's great to just be like, I don't need that in Control Center, and just you kick stuff out, you promote some other stuff. It's just a much more functional version of Control Center, and I think they did a really good job. And again, is this, whoa, my God, a revolutionary new feature? No, it's not, but it's like really nice, and it answers a lot of questions that we've all sort of said, but what about? With Control Center for the last like 5 years, which is like, why can't apps go in there? Why isn't this particular item in Control Center? And now it's like Apple said, look, you want multiple pages, you want different things, you want to add them or subtract them, like just go to town and do it. Third-party apps can be in there. It's going to make Control Center, it's already for me because we've all been on the beta all summer. It's so much more useful than it was before using iOS 18.
Resizable without deletion is clutch. That's the key. Resizable without deletion. I used to hate how to delete this wizard so that I can fix it.
And widgets are the same way, right? If a widget is available in small, medium, and large, and extra large, or a Control Center widget is available in the little 1 size or the 2x1 size or whatever, there's a handle on the side, and you can just drag it and make it bigger or smaller, and it goes to the presentation of the other widget size. Whereas, as Doc was saying, a lot of times it's sort of like, oh, you want the bigger widget? Well, here's what you do. Delete your widget and then add a bigger widget, which is like, I mean, I can, but surely there's another better way to do this.
It really feels like there's been a shift in philosophy at Apple, where I feel 5 years ago, definitely 10 years ago, but 5 years ago, we would have the conversation about, well, why don't they allow us to do this with Control Center? We would have been saying, well, because Apple feels as though it'll get, if they allow the user to do that, it'll get too cluttered and it'll be a mess and it won't be clean. If we let third-party apps put things in there, then they won't be appropriate for the milieu that we're trying to go for in Control Center. It seems like with this decision, I've been seeing on social media people complaining all the way back to WWDC. Oh my God, this is going to cause people to have like real confusing mess of a Control Center. Like, good. Like if that's what they want, like the only person who has to understand the layout is you yourself.
Like, it's hidden there. It doesn't do it automatically. So it's going to be normal if you don't understand it. And as you start adding things to it, and I do agree with you that, and we've seen this progression since basically iPhone 1, which is that, in iPhone 1, we couldn't even install apps. And now, you see this Apple slowly letting go of some of the controls over the UI and letting us customize it, which is something that obviously I think Android was ahead of for a long time, of providing that customization. I will say what I'd love to be able to do is turn off side swiping. I think I sideswiped by accident more, like 10 times more than on purpose. Like it's like I don't care about going back and forth. I'm not using Tinder, so I don't really care about the right and left. But I'm always jumping into some article like, how did I get here? Why am I here?
I actually have seen a similar thing where you end up with. I think it's in music when you're editing a playlist, the distinction between deleting an item and tapping the item and having it play is so fine. And you're like, I just want to reorder my playlist in the car that we're all listening to. I don't want to just, but
can I say that I had play next is like press hard and hold, and then you can select it or tap it. And if you don't get
which is hard to do in a bump or when you're reaching down to the seat, and trying to do it while you're not looking. So that's so true.
I had the exact same thing. Like one of my problems that I don't know whether it's me or with the design of the thing, that you press and hold on you press and hold on the Wi-Fi because I want to switch to something else. Okay. I guarantee you, like 9 times out of 11, I will wind up turning off the Wi-Fi because I didn't time it correctly. I think they changed things a little bit so that now I'm in the past day or so, I have not been doing that the same way. And I actually wanted to tail back quickly to something that Doc Rock said. And you reminded me, Alex, by bringing up Android. Like, I'm in the position right now, when I switched from Android to iPhone eons ago, like, I wrote for Jason, like a 3-part series about like why I did it, and wasn't a polemic about Apple has lost its way. I'm shucking off my chains and flying to freedom and Google. It was just like, okay, there are just differences between the two platforms. I'm starting to prefer some of the differences in Google, so I'm looking at it again so I can update it. And the thing is, like, back then I had a list of, here are things that the iPhone has that I wish Android has, and here are the things that Android has, like the way it handles notifications and like switchable keyboards, that the iPhone doesn't have. And what I'm noticing is that most of these things are now moot because Apple and Google have both done an exemplary job of seeing what users like and saying that's a great idea. And we're just maybe we should be doing it that way, or maybe we should be influenced by that. And I do think that this was iOS 18 is a lot of that, saying we couldn't really figure it out before. Like maybe for all we know, there was some piece of infrastructure inside of iOS that made that, like, when they designed Springboard, they never designed it with that in mind, so that they would have had to. It's like saying, hey, I really want to change that bookcase, and then you realize that, oh, well, the bookcase is like actually the tile on the floor is like goes up to the bookcase. We'll have to replace the tile. Then you take the tile out, and oh, the floorboards are rotten. We're going to replace the floorboards, and that then suddenly you decide that maybe I don't want to move my icons around as it is. But I'm glad it's happening. And again, I'm with you, Rock. Like, every time that someone says, "Oh, I can't believe the final welcome to 2021, Apple people. We've been doing this for 3 years." Like, good for you. If we wanted an Android phone, we would own an Android phone, but we don't. Can't you be happy for us that we now have this feature that you seem to think is really good?
There's ecosystem stuff that never gets talked about. It's not just the phone, right? For a lot of us, it's an entire ecosystem of things. But I do want to say something before we get away from iOS 18. And here's the key to this. 18. It is a late adolescent at this point. So it is now starting to behave like an adult. It has matured and matured gracefully. You don't necessarily want the adolescent that matured too quickly. Circumstances, something happened to one of the parents, or they don't have parents, whatever, like they mature too quickly, and then it ends up becoming problematic later. So if you think about this, in this situation, the OS took a long time to get here, and we do have this feeling of finally, but there's a moment. I don't have any children's, my bad, but all you parents know, one day your 18-year-old walks in and says something so salient, and you'd be like, where's my kid? Who is this dork? Like, oh, Jason, you know this one? Explain it to us childless catmen.
Yeah, I mean, it's that moment where I think the way we phrased it is, my son came home for the summer from college, and my wife said, "Who is this man who is living in our house?" Right? It's just like that happens, and and what Andy said, I think, is absolutely right. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I understand it, but I don't love that tribalism thing, which is like, oh, how dare the person who's using a product I'm not using gets a feature they like. Like, okay, I mean, whatever. I mean, you should feel good. You should be like, yeah, now you can appreciate the thing that I've been using. It is good, right? That's a great feature. That's all it is. The fact is, Apple and Android are, it is much less about the arms race, maybe in AI, but in the other phone features, it's all about sort of like what you prefer for various reasons. A lot of it for Apple users is definitely the ecosystem. That's all. It's all good. I will say, speaking of Android, another thing that there are big changes in iOS 18 and all the million of other OSs that got updated this week is in messages, including the arrival at long last of RCS support. So now the bubbles are still green, but they're far more functional when you're using RCS than when you're using SMS and group messages in responding to threads with a mixed group of people, iPhone and Android. That's all improved now, which is great to see. And there are a bunch of other really good messages features. They have message effects, which I know seem really ridiculous on text, that you would have individual text message effects, but you actually get intelligently prompted by the system when you do something that's like a word that, you misspell intentionally to say, like, it's been a long time with a lot of O's. It will actually suggest an animation on the long. It's kind of delightful. And my favorite thing is emoji reactions, which I know seems silly, but like, we've had 6 tapbacks for how long now? And for Apple to be like, okay. And last year, they did the thing where it's like, well, you could react with a sticker, but it's not really a tapback. It's a sticker that gets stuck on your text, over your text. Nobody wanted that. They finally just did it and said, okay, not only are tapbacks all animated, the 6 classic tapbacks are colored and animated and stuff like that, but you can pick any emoji and tap it back. And it is great. I love it. I feel like I've gone from only being able to respond with 6 feelings to having the entire Unicode set to choose from. It's a good feeling. So again, does this completely transform the way I use my iPhone or my iPad or my Mac? No, but it's really nice. And it's an area where I used to bump up against a wall, and the wall, as of Monday, is just not there anymore.
So you're saying that you've gone with this emoji upgrade, you've gone from a palette of Minnesotan
6 colors
emojis to Italian range of emotions.
Yeah. It's a very Tuscan sort of message system that I have now. Before it was very locked down in Midwestern. Thank you, Andy. You've clarified it.
I don't think this is 18.
I'm a communications professional. Thank you.
I don't think this is 18, but my kids showed me that I didn't know that you could drag multiple stickers onto the same text. Like, so when someone's sending you a text, you can just start dragging stickers on. So I can build little crowds on top of people. You can also have a sticker that says yes. And so if someone says no, you put the sticker on top and say
and
yes.
I believe you can tap back with stickers now. I believe they've actually integrated the whole sticker functionality as well. So if there's like, I commissioned, this says something about me. I commissioned some emoji custom. This predates the Genmoji, which are going to come out and ruin this whole thing. But I commissioned for an actual artist, in fact, the artist who does the mock-ups for Emojipedia, 2 emoji that I wanted to use myself. And they are stickers on my phone. But now they're like custom emoji. I can emoji react with them, and it's super awesome. So it's just being a human expressing things. I know there's a lot of tech people who are like, that's not a very interesting feature. It's like, but the phones are what we use to express our feelings to other people. For God's sake.
And I was doing these robots in Midjourney, and I realized I can just I send them to Photos. I open up Photos and just push on the robot, and it just cuts the robot out, and I make it a sticker. And it's like stickers with big mouth open or angry or whatever. I think
last year they introduced that lift the subject out of the photo and make it a sticker feature.
You just really push down a little bit and it just goes, I got it. And then you make it a sticker, and then you put lots of them on the thing. I have a lot of fun with them.
I've got another thing I'm going to mention that's in iOS 18 and iPadOS 18 and some other places. The Photos app, which is very important. Apple did a redesign of the launch screen of it to sort of get rid of the tabs. So the way it used to work, you will open Photos and there was a grid. And there was a tab bar at the bottom. And the grid was just the most recent photos you took or screenshots or whatever. And then the tab bar, behind it in the tab bar were like all these things where Apple has spent 10 years building machine learning features to try and find great photos in your library and show them to you. And I'm pretty sure that Apple has been constantly frustrated that no user or very few users even know that it's there because they don't look. They think Photos is just a utilitarian grid. So after a false start where they introduced too many things in the early betas of this iOS, they have settled down on a concept where when you open Photos, the top 2/3 of it is the grid. And the bottom third of it is what's called collections. And these collections are various things that are generated by the Photos app, but they're not all sort of like our algorithm found February 18s from history that you might like to see, which is a thing that they've been doing for a while, or like furry friends. Instead, you can select what goes in those collections, but those collections can be things like recent days, which is very utilitarian. Instead of seeing a grid and saying, I just need that picture from 4 days ago, you can just swipe to the day and tap and you get all the pictures from that day. Or people, where it's identified people in your library. And then now, as of iOS 18, you can set groups of people. So I can actually say, I'd like to have available to me the photos of my wife and me and our 2 kids together. And I can do that. And then I can keep it there and I can tap on it and I can always see all of those things. And it's doing generating a movie in the background. It curates a smaller collection and gets out a lot of the duplicates. It's really smart. And I've heard a lot of people, and let's be honest here, a lot of computer nerds, and that's fine, I'm one too, who are like, man, I really liked it when it was completely bland and utilitarian. And it's like, Photos does need to be utilitarian. You do need to get to that last photo you took. But I think Apple is doing absolutely the right thing in saying, hey, there are lots of other ways to look through your photo library that might be, great for discovery or just more convenient. The new trips feature they added, where they're taking all your geotagging and time and building trips icons. So you can just say, instead of saying, oh, when was that trip? Oh, it was a year and a half ago. Let's scroll back a year and a half and find that trip. You can literally go down to trips and go, oh, there it is, New Zealand, tap. And the whole thing comes up with an auto-generated highlight movie. I think it's like really smart. I'm glad they did it.
I have to admit, I'm waiting for it to grow on me. It hasn't grown yet. It's still a seed of frustration for me.
Utilitarian, aren't you, Alex?
I search through it all the time, and I say I want this, or I'm looking for this, and I'm used to that process. It's a weird thing with the photo selection. When I want to select something, it doesn't do what it used to do, and it's very difficult for me. I find it very difficult to select photos to send to people.
Yeah, they struggle with it's because it's trying to act like it's not a mode, but it's a mode, and you kind of need to go into library mode to do library things. And I think that's the thing that they need to work on interface.
Or I want to double click on, I just want to tap on it. And I want it to go full screen, and it's like selects it. And I'm like, I don't want to do, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah. There's some gesture memory that's changed there.
Yeah. And it's just, and so I find I'm still pretty frustrated with it. So I would go back to 17 like that. I hate photos. I used to love it. And the new one is just, every time I open it up, I'm angry. And so I'm trying to get over it. I know that maybe we'll talk about this.
Change happens.
And I'll be like, it's great. But I feel like they changed too many things at one time. And it's mostly just that I just want to select photos. Like if they did all the other stuff that they were doing with all these collections and everything else, that's fine. If this photo selection just worked the way it used to, I wouldn't care. It's that it keeps on saying, oh, you want to select a photo. And I'm like, no, I want to tap on it and have it come up to the whole screen. Thank you very much. And that seems to be some weird mode that I don't know how to get into automatically. And when I open it, the only thing I want to see is the gallery.
Yeah.
There's a toggle now, right? If you're in the mode to select, if you see what happens is you sometimes accidentally get into select mode. So I know what you're talking about because this is me yesterday, and I kind of figured out what the delta is. So at the very top, if you look up and you see the word select, you're in select mode. But you see the word cancel, you're in select mode. So if you cancel that and tap, it goes full screen like what we're used to. But if you see the word select, it thinks you're in select mode. Now, here's where they got gangster. You could have already selected a bunch. But if you click on the next thumbnail and just hold your thumb there for a second, it actually goes full screen, but not really. It goes kind of quarter screen, which is dope because it's big enough for you to see what's going on, but the options are there if you're ready to take action. So in a way, it becomes faster once you retrain,
and again, I think in 6 months we'll talk about it and I'll be like, oh, it's great. I love it.
It messed me up, bro. I was the first one complaining. I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. The other thing I figured out is at the bottom in the corner where the arrows do the doohickey like this, you can actually tell it whether you want it to do its little weird, let me figure this out for you, or date added or date capture. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, because I was taking a picture and then going to the thing to react with it, and it's not in the library. I just took it. Where you at?
It's a sort and filter control down there in the bottom.
Man, listen.
Yeah. It's something that Alex said that I want to mention too is search is actually improved on this. One of the things that you used to have to do was a very computery search. It would try, but it wasn't as good as it is now, where you'd say, like, if I want to see pictures of my daughter on the beach in Hawaii, I used to be able to type her name and it would come up and say, oh, here are some things that start with J, and I'll like tap Jamie, and then I'll type beach, and it's like you're doing a computer search. It's like, oh, beach, tap on that, and then Hawaii, and then tap on that, and then it would do it. But you can literally just type Jamie on the beach in Hawaii now, and this doesn't require Apple Intelligence, and it knows exactly what you mean, and it displays exactly what you're looking for. So they've done a lot better job with natural language searching and things like that for people who don't want to look at those computer generated selections. Although again, with the new group stuff, and with the trips stuff, there's huge value. And I think the reason, why does Apple get in your way and not just show you the utilitarian grid? I think the answer is Apple knows, because no one else would know, but Apple, I'm sure, knows that there are a lot of people who just don't know that those things are there in the Photos app, that the Photos app is meant to do two things: utilitarian grid and finding your photos and discovering things that delight you, and that they were doing too much of one and not enough of the other, which stinks if you just want the utilitarian grid.
The one thing that I love that's not new with, I don't know if it's new with 18 or not, but it's constantly showing you great photos from your, you get this at the top, you get this, like, this is a great photo from your library, and you get every couple of days you get another 8 or 10 of them, and I love that feature.
Yeah. Like, those are featured photos, and they've been there all along, but nobody sees them because they're hidden under a tab.
My wife and my kids, and I'm like, oh, remember this?
I always find discoverability. I totally forgot about that. I totally took years ago, completely forgot about it. And it's funny you bring this up, because not that long ago, I think last week was my birthday, and on my birthday, one of the pictures that popped up was a picture of me and Ken from San Francisco from 2013. And it was like my first time getting a chance to meet Ken IRL. And so I immediately sent it to him, Ken Ray, I'm talking inside baseball for a second. And I just like, wow, I completely forgot about that. And what a random picture to send me today. But then the more I looked at it, the way the intelligence might work, we both bald guys with beards, it kind of was
family.
It was like, okay, this is before and after, or ebony and ivory, or whatever. But I was just like, wow, what a great picture to send me today. And it just kind of made me chuckle.
Sometimes it's even literally like, this is a thing that happened, on this day 5 years ago, and here it is, or there's something about it. There's a bunch of stuff going in the background. Andy, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say that, discoverability is like the key feature of any photo library app. It's not necessarily organization, because if you're not going to organize these things yourself, and this is where artificial intelligence and Apple Intelligence is going to be such a great boon. The ability to say, give me that picture of the mushroom that I took a couple of days ago. Boom. Or, as I like to joke, the ultimate test of artificial intelligence is that line from that line from broadcast news. Well, let's meet at the place of the thing where we went that time. And it's between two characters that know each other so well that they know exactly the place they're talking about. So when when you are able to tell your Photos app, give me that photo that I took yesterday that's really good that I wanted to post, it's probably going to find it. It's kind of annoying to me that it's a failure technology that Apple Photos, Google Photos, my Lightroom cloud library, I have an album called Hip Pocket, which is like, this is where I put things that I think I'm going to want to be able to find easily in the next like couple of weeks or couple of months. Because if I don't put it in this folder called Hip Pocket, I'll think, oh, I'll bet it's just, I know it was 2 days ago. It'll just be 2 days ago in the timeline. Can't find it. It's a really, really important thing. And I should also say that this is not a small change that they've made to Photos. Okay. I like the fact that they decided to take a big swing here, because sometimes you do discover that we had a modality to this that seemed to make sense 10 years ago, 5 years ago. It no longer makes sense, or we now have new opportunities we can take advantage of, but we can't take advantage of it unless we totally redesign it. And we're going to have to accept the fact that a lot of people are going to be upset for the first 3 weeks or a month while they have to delete their old muscle memory and build brand new muscle memory. I will say, though, that the good news is that almost all of it is customizable. If you really don't like the clutter of all these, why am I being recommended this, that, and the other? Great, go into settings. You can say, put this lower down on the list, or don't show this stuff to me at all. But the last thing is that I really, really wish Apple would go back to using the iBooks library to say, here's a manual on how to use your iPhone. Here's a manual on how the Photos app works. Because all that information used to be something you could buy a really good book for, and now that's pretty much dead. Now you basically have to do a Reddit search for it. It would be nice to have
good news, Andy. Good news. Take Control of Photos, 4th edition, coming out very, very soon, written by this guy right here from takecontrolbooks.com. Check it out. That's the book you want on photos. I appreciate you lamenting the death of computer books, but I spent my summer updating that book again because there's so much. I mean, look at WWDC. the more they talked about photos, I just kept sinking in my chair because it was like, my summer is gone and it's gone. But having lived through it for the last thing, I understand their motivation, and I think they did a good job. Not to say, because I mean, this is the thing, is I don't want to downplay how very different the interaction model is when you open the app than it was. And I think that in the end, if there are people like Alex who are like, can I just have the grid? I think Apple ultimately will probably let them. But I think right now Apple is like, why don't you look at the stuff we're generating for you and see if you like it? Because I think it's very telling that the top item that they put there is recent days, because that's a non-judgmental, non-machine learning based system. It's really just a grouping of your library by date in a different way to make it more easy to jump back to a specific day. I feel like, for some people that might be like, oh, okay, it is reasonable. And then below that, the trips is also very utilitarian. But it is a big change, and people with touchscreen devices, especially, as Alex pointed out, like, people have muscle memory. People know how to use a thing, and then you change it at your peril. But in this case, I think the stuff Apple is doing on the discovery side is so good that they had to give it a shot. And they did take some stuff out over the summer that was a bridge too far. They had a whole featured photos gallery thing that you could get to from swiping right on the library, and the library disappeared, and it's like, no. I can't be confused about north, south, east, west in my Photos app. It's too much. But I feel like I get why they're doing it, and I think they're probably right to try, even though it is going to cause some pain, I think.
Yeah, you got it. The thing that I'll say is that, like, with this new version of Photos, you do have to do a dungeon crawl of it. Like, you really should. The thing where I'm just going to methodically go through every single button. What happens when I long press it? What happens when I press on something and stroke? What happens when I look through this this menu? What is in settings? Because the number of times, not in Photos yet, because I just got it on my iPad, but the number of times where I'm like, oh man, the thing that annoys me the most about this thing is that it doesn't do this, and or the tap feature is like this. And I'm like, oh, you mean that there's always been a setting that I could just switch that off and it doesn't annoy me anymore? Oh.
And while not prolific, one reminder is that Apple actually has a YouTube page called Apple Support, where they make Apple level videos about things. It's good. They could do it every day.
And iOS 18, this is actually I think this is if it isn't an 18, it'll be an 18.1, but they have wired up Siri to all of the manuals. So you can now say, how do I do this thing? And it will bring you to a specific portion in the manual, and then you can tap and get more information about it. So they're trying to make, which I think is understated, but could potentially be a game changer for a lot of people, which is if you can get into people's minds that they can ask Siri, how do I do this thing on my iPhone? Instead of getting frustrated, giving up, talking to their kids, writing it on a to-do list, just in the moment say, how do I do this? And have it actually tell them the right answer officially from Apple. That could really help a lot of people's lives and make them use their phones more effectively.
And I think we're going to end up with Apple Intelligence. I do think that you're going to be able to interrogate that, all of the documentation that Apple has, where you say, I need to know how to do it in natural language. I don't understand how to do this. And it'll just tell you. But it's using their own content and potentially other content that other people have written, for all of that, to make that all possible. And I think that's going to make it really, I mean, I'm amazed. And I'll ask something about DaVinci Resolve. Like, I need to figure out how to export. I need to put these 8 channels onto their own bus and then export them out, and then send them out via Dante via Dante virtual sound card, step by step. Like, go to this window, go to the thing, go to this thing. And so ChatGPT is already doing that. And so I can only imagine when they have the content, it would make a difference.
All right. Well, we need to take a break real quick, but we will talk more.
Jason.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sure. Doc, throw it in there.
Because I want to make sure everybody remembers the other thing. This is the most important now. I can get on a FaceTime call and be like, Andrew, man, I know you've been doing this stuff. I have a question for you. Can I show you my screen?
Yes.
And I go, here you go, Andy. Boom. And then Andy goes, Doc, you dummy. I know you're old now. Now you're 58. Look, the button's over here, right there. And I'm like, oh my God, Andy, I didn't know that.
So this
And
is
also,
literally in FaceTime, that camera button that you're afraid in messages, the camera button that you are afraid to press because you think it's going to initiate a video FaceTime, which is why that icon should probably be different. If you tap it, you can initiate a FaceTime video or audio. You can also ask that person to share their screen or offer to share your screen with them, which means that anybody who's doing tech support for anybody can do it. And when it starts, it's a view. And when you're in view mode, you can literally circle things on their interface that they see. It's like, click on this here, and then they can click on it and do whatever they need to do. And this is iPhone and iPad. We've had it on the Mac for a while, but now it's on with iOS 18. It's on iPhone and iPad. And likewise, you can also ask them to give you control. And you can actually tap and say, and they do it in a clever way where the interface sort of zooms backward a little bit, so you can tell that it's not in a normal mode and that somebody's controlling your phone. But like, it's such a game changer. If anybody has ever had a friend or a relative who has tried to explain with words what they're seeing on their screen, or send you a screenshot that you don't understand, or take a FaceTime from an iPad of an iPhone, like, it's a game changer. Absolutely, Doc. It's a game changer.
Yeah, so good. So I just wanted to do that.
Yeah, thank you. That was perfect timing. Okay, Leo is waiting in the wings to tell us about our first sponsor. Leo, take it away.
This episode of MacBreak, hi guys, just popping in to tell you about our good friends at 1Password. 1Password. 1Password wants to know, do your end users always work on company-owned devices and IT-approved apps? Of course they don't. No. How do you keep your company's data safe when it's sitting on all those unmanaged apps? All those BYOD devices. What do you do? 1Password has the answer. Extended Access Management. 1Password Extended Access Management helps you secure every sign-in for every app on every device, because it solves the problems traditional IAM and MDM just can't touch. Imagine, if you will. Visualize this with me. Don't close your eyes. Keep them open, especially if you're driving. Imagine your company's security is like the quad of a college campus. You can see it right now, can't you? Those brick buildings, ivy covered, the beautiful grass perfectly mowed on the lawn, and the little brick pathways leading from building to building, meandering across. Those are the company-owned devices. Those are the IT-approved apps. Those are the managed employee identities. But, and every college campus has it, then there are the dirt paths worn in the grass by the students who know that the shortest point between building A and B is this way. Forget the path. Those dirt paths, they're the unmanaged devices, the shadow IT apps, the non-employee identities like contractors on your network. What are you going to do? Well, most security tools only work on the happy little brick paths. You need, because all the security problems, where they happen on the dirt shortcuts, right? You need 1Password Extended Access Management, the first security solution that brings all those unmanaged devices and apps and identities under your control. It ensures that every user credential is strong and protected. Every device is known and healthy, and every app is visible. It's security for the way people work today. It's real world security, right? And it's now generally available to companies using Okta and Microsoft Entra. And it's in beta now for Google Workspace customers. So if you're using Okta, Entra, or Workspace, you need to know about 1Password Extended Access Management. You can check it out. 1password.com/MacBreak. It's the number 1, PASSWORD.com/MacBreak. This is such a cool solution. And this is what you need in the real world today. 1password.com/MacBreak. Check it out. 1Password Extended Access Management. Now, back to MacBreak Weekly. Thank you for letting me interrupt.
Thank you, Leo. Case pays the bills. You interrupt anytime you like.
It is your network.
It is. He does own it. So we're back. MacBreak Weekly. Yes, Jason Snell, Doc Rock, Alex Lindsay, Andy Anatko. You know, the usual suspects, -1+1. It's a fun OS release week. Before we move on from iOS 18, because it's the big one. There's so many iPhones out there in the world. So it's the scale of a software update like this just kind of blows me away. There are a few other stories. Andy pointed me to a story about how there are some new activation lock features that have been added that extend activation lock to other parts of your iPhone, with the idea here being that okay, if you can figure out how to steal an iPhone and sell it for parts, maybe you can't sell it for parts anymore. Is that right, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, Apple's been doing Apple's desire to make sure keep a leg down on the stolen iPhone market, and the desire of individual iPhone owners to be able to fix their own hardware are in opposition to each other in many places. This is one of those cases where they've done a really good job of making sure with activation lock that if someone steals your phone, there's really nothing. If it's 2 or 3 years old, there's really nothing they can do with it. But what they can do is they can ship it overseas, and parts suppliers can rip them apart and resell the battery, resell the frame, resell the camera unit, resell the logic board. So with iOS 18, now that activation lock now applies to individual parts, individual components as well. So you unless you have access to Apple software, you will not be able to simply buy a third-party battery off of wherever and really trust that's going to work inside your phone. Again, it's a trade-off. I'm not going to jump up and down saying, "Oh, this is anti-repair." As a matter of fact, they've been doing things, with some pressure from the EU, but they've been doing some things to make sure when they redesign their iPhones that it's actually easier to repair than it used to be. You no longer have to hollow out the entire thing like a pumpkin to get at the battery, for instance, and a lot of the adhesives are easier to work with. But this is going to make sure that now, if you'll be pleased to know that your iPhone will only be stolen by dumb thieves, hopefully.
Yeah, and in the chat, one of our members is mentioning, sadly, people will still steal iPhones. That's true, but I'll tell you, because this has already happened with activation lock, that iPhones will very rapidly became less interesting to thieves. It doesn't mean that people might not steal your phone from now and then, right? But like activation lock, I believe, made a real difference where like the word on the street, sorry to use that cliche, but it's true. The word on the street is don't bother with iPhones. They're like a waste of time because we can't it either destroys their fencing value, or there are places that, I've heard stories, they ship your phone to Asia where there are a few places that have got some various sort of cracking techniques that they can try to get that phone to be reusable again. But like really, you're just trying to create more. It's just like locks on your door. Like if somebody wants to break into your house, they'll break into your house. But if they see that your door is locked, if your car door is locked, the thieves are not super industrious a lot of the time. They are just trying to look for the lowest hanging fruit. And if they get the word on the street is the iPhone is just a waste to steal and sell, they'll move on.
And we have to remember this isn't. We have to remember that.
Go ahead. But just quickly say that's a good point, because we don't think of we think of Oliver in this Oliver Twist, like pickpocketing and look how hungry. Yeah, and there are people just simply steal stuff out of opportunity, but there are organized rings of thieves, particularly in tourist places, and they do know that here's your hunting list is if you steal this Pixel phone, we can get X for it.
Right.
If you steal this iPhone and it's not this model, we can maybe get Y for it, and so that will, as you say, as long as it makes it a little bit harder, that's still a win.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something very similar to what Andy just said, which is that, no, it's fine. These are massive crime rings. Yeah. Like the graph that happens, the shrinkage that we see at stores, at CVS's and everything else. Mm-hmm. This is not a person stealing something. This is a massive organization giving people directives of what to go get, and they go out and get them, and then they bring them back. And so by making it not palatable to do that, and harder and harder and harder. And as an iPhone owner, I care far more about my iPhone being less palatable than I care about repair or resale.
Yeah. I mean, those are important, but it's super important to not have it be a high value target. And when you mention the rings, I mean, it really is another economy. I guess you could call it a black market economy, but that's what Andy was saying. Like even urchins, the in Oliver, they know what their Fagan will pay, whatever it is, their master. They know the prices. It's an economy. They know what everything is worth. And if the iPhone, it's in Apple's job to depress the value of a stolen iPhone to make iPhones that you make their customers basically safer and keep their stuff. And Apple continues to work on it. Now, yes, it's also repairability is important, but at the same time, not I would say, more important than trying to suppress theft.
Yeah.
And it's certainly there's
Not
a
only
balancing act there.
do they know what it's worth, but they know which bags are the most vulnerable. So, at the point in time, like, because they go on YouTube, they look at bag reviews, and they see that a Tortuga has a back pocket on the side and a very puffy. All right, I'm going to catch the dude on the subway rocking a Tortuga. I guarantee you that's where he put the iPhone, because the 8 videos on YouTube that showed me, I'm not picking on your bag, Tortuga, by the way. It just popped in my head because the name is funny. It's a turtle backpack. I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you slide the slider and you know the phone is right there, or if on the top pocket, there's a place. So even if you bought a very popular backpack, look for ones that have things like zipper garages where you tuck the zipper into a little thing. Shimoda comes to mind. Alpaca comes to mind. Then you are helping. But these guys are so smart. Trust me. They know exactly what bags, what's the most vulnerable,
and the best,
so forth and center.
The best
thing. And one last thing, Apple has made it now. Finally, I've been asking for this forever. I can put all of my banking stuff. I can put all of my, coin wallets, all of that in a hidden folder now, and you got to have Touch ID to get in there. So, we made it dope in many, many ways.
Yeah, and I think that the more that Apple can just, I'm fine with them locking it down completely. I think that it should, if it gets a foot away from my, or X amount of 10 feet away from my watch, it just closes up. And if doesn't let you actually, I think they should not let you turn it off. So you're walking around with the tracker. If you take my phone and it gets away from if I set it to a mode, for instance, as soon as it gets 10 feet from my watch, you're just walking around with the tracker. You can't turn it off. You can't reset it. You can't do anything with it. All it's going to do is follow you where you are.
So this is funny because some of that they have added a bunch of those kinds of features, and including, I believe, that when you've got Find My turned on and you turn off your phone, the Bluetooth continues working, and there's a warning about it.
Works.
Right. Yeah. So they are already carrying a tracker around, and they've made those things so much more aggressive in terms of locking and unlocking and getting around the whole I see your password at the bar that make you ask again at a different location and all of that. They are working on it on a lot of fronts here. And this is stuff that, honestly, I think a lot of this is happening and we don't see it at all. It's invisible to us. Maybe thieves see it, but we don't. Occasionally, there's something that bubbles up to the user interface level when we go, oh, well, that's an interesting change. But I'm sure Apple, it's definitely one of their focuses is to make these things just less stealable as much as you can, because it's a $1,000 object that fits in your pocket. It's got a lot of value if you can figure out how to resell it to somebody who finds value in it. I wanted to mention.
I would love to see.
Oh, go ahead.
Quick. I would love to see Apple call Amazon and be like, listen, dudes, you guys are just big as grits. Why do you still let people authenticate with a text message? If someone stole a phone, no matter who made the phone, and all I need to get into Amazon and buy a bunch of crap is a text message, please, companies, stop letting us use text message as the only way. If people are crazy enough to still do that, that's on them. But Amazon don't give you another option. So even if you use the what do you call it? The 1Password way, sponsor callback, which I do, it still will send me a text anyway when I'm pulling it from my code app. I don't need your text message, dang it. Right. And so, you can make them instantly disappear. But I think to text SMS to verify is the most dangerous way to do a two-factor.
But you pointed out one of the things one of the other really wonderful features of iOS 18, the ability to lock and hide apps. So that all your everything that if your phone gets stolen, every app that could possibly move money away from you, banking apps, store apps, whatever, you can put it behind a barrier that says that, well, it's here, but you're going to have to re-authenticate in order to simply open up this thing. So if they just grab it out of your hands at a bar, they say, okay, I've got 2 minutes to do whatever I want. No, you don't, because those apps are already locked down. Yeah.
It's another great feature, and the ability to hide apps too. So if you've got somebody who might, especially in I think domestic violence situations, to be 100%. Able to somebody's trying to control you and doesn't want to know that you have a particular app, you can actually set it to hide, and then it is not visible. They don't know that it's there. Only you know that it's there, which is potentially really great. The one I wanted to mention, and it's silly. We're going from serious to silly here, but it's a it points out something about the structure of how Apple has done things that they've had to unwind in order to get this thing to work right. In iOS 18, the Apple Sports app that was introduced earlier this year will actually let you, get this, do live activities that show the score of the game that you care about, the team you care about. And you're thinking to yourself, wait a second,
let's be honest, the game you've bet on, the team you've bet on.
I don't bet on sports, and I care about scores too. So it's not just for gamblers.
Okay,
sports
fine.
that's a really exciting, invigorating promo for sports now. It's not just for gambling anymore, but only a little bit. So anyway, why this is the case is because Apple built its sports live activities into the TV app. Why? I don't know. I mean, it was there and the sports app wasn't there. And so they decided to do it. But it was really confusing. It was confusing about how to turn it on and turn it off. And in iOS 18, you can just do it from Apple Sports. Apple Sports will let you live track your favorites. So it's a little thing. But like what I like about it is you talk about that. Andy's likening the pulling of the thread of the tapestry and the whole thing unraveling. You get to the floorboards and you look underneath and you're like, oh, God, what's down there? That is Apple's push notification system for sports data. Yeah.
And I don't know when it happened, whether it was iOS 18 or whether United did it. I just was I was traveling last week and flying in United, and the United app integrates, it asks for live updates and you say yes. And then in my island up above, it's telling me how long before the flight takes off, and it tells me what gate I'm in. And it's like, it's kind of magical.
United, as airline apps go, the United app developers are doing some things right. They're very smart and they're trying to use Apple tech a lot. But the way this works is all of your push notifications come from one source, which is APNS. It's the Apple push notification server, and that's where messages come from. So any airline Wi-Fi that has access to Apple's push notification server, and a lot of them will let you do like free messaging, even if you're not on the Wi-Fi. At that point, I think Flighty was the app that really kind of wrote about this the most, and it is a great app. The idea there is, sign up for free messaging, even if you're not planning on doing the messaging, because every app that sets you push notifications can basically put a data packet in a silent push notification and keep updating their app over that connection, even though it's not messaging.
Yeah. On the United app itself, you're on the flight and it's telling you how long it's going to take. You look at your island anytime you want. It also, as soon as you check your bags in, I had a lot of bags. I had like 12 bags to check in, and it just goes, here's all your tracking numbers. And you walk on the plane and you get this little alert that says, hey, they're all on the plane, and you land and they go, hey, they're all en route to the baggage claim, and
it's smart.
It's kind of amazing. Yeah.
Smart.
I haven't done it for a long time. So it was kind of like, wow, this has come a long way since last time.
Man, Flighty is so good. Jay, I got Flighty Pro. Like I want to help them. Like I love Flighty. It is fantastic. And one of the things that's really cool is I like to be able to send that live update stuff to my family. So like they know where I am, if I'm landing at Logan, Ken and Glenn can be like, yo, the Sumner Tunnel is jacked again. I was like, again? Is it always? Okay, I'll come around the back way. I'll cut through, Loyal or whatever. I can't say these words. Just don't get it at me, Andy.
No. We in Boston, we are open, we are kind, we are hard to provoke, we are not quick to anger, we are welcoming of everybody.
It's Worcester.
Yeah, Worcester, that's the one.
Lemon stuff.
There you go. That's the
Wall
right.
fam.
So I learned to take those cuts because I can get those updates ahead of time. And only now, I always fly Hawaiian because, it's the direct flight to Logan. And now Hawaiian has got some planes that have Wi-Fi. Before I didn't, but with Flighty, I could always be able to see what's going on and, know that my Avis is ready while I'm still in the air, just super amazing.
Hawaiian's one of the Starlink airlines, actually. They're already on Starlink now. So that's good for them. I should also mention, because we love the shiny objects here, very excited to talk about new things. If you are remaining on iOS 17, macOS 14, iPadOS 17, Apple also released updates for those. This is that thing where You won't get the new features, but you will get the fixes and the security updates in particular for a while. I think it's like maybe a 2-year period. I forget exactly what they do, but you will still get updates even if you stay back. They'll give you that snazzy little box to click to go to iOS 18, but you could also do a 17 update, 17.7. I believe it is now, and 14.7 for macOS, so you can stay up to date if need be with on the old OS.
Yeah, it's not the first time they've done that, but I think it's really, really a good idea for them to put this out with this release, knowing that a lot of people are going to be thinking that the AI features are the reason to upgrade. And if you can put off the pain of a major update like this for another month, why not put it off for another month or two?
It's a good idea. Good idea.
You know, and you made me think of something real quick. I think one of the reasons why everyone's like, well, how come we didn't get this on day one? Why we didn't get this on day one? Okay, so you're rolling out new hardware devices, and then you're rolling out a new OS, and you're rolling out a really big feature that's going to be quote unquote game changing. Doesn't it make absolute sense to let the hardware and the OS have a month of calming down and all the gates and all of the craziness before you let out Apple Intelligence? Yeah. Yes. And everyone's mad that they didn't do it. I'm like, it's a brilliant play. It's how you keep from just like, exploding everyone's brains during the month of September, October. So I think it's smart that they wait until Halloween to let it out.
That's such a smart point. Because you don't want people's disappointment in Apple Intelligence 1.0 to get mixed in with like their reaction to 18.0 as it is. Otherwise, that'll like basically paint the scarlet F of failure upon the entire undertaking, as opposed to give me a month to enjoy having upgraded before I start using things that I have to stop using because they're letting me down. But I also think that they need all the time they can get. I don't necessarily think that they made that as a tactical thing. I've been using a beta on before I updated my iPhone 14. I was using a beta, and it's good. I mean, it's fine, but it's very much reminds me of using Google Bard or earlier versions of ChatGPT. It's fine within limitations, but it won't. Whereas the other products that are out right now, including Google Gemini, will surprise you with how useful they are and how good they are. You just want to throw things at it to see what it will do, and then you find out, oh, great, I'll integrate this into my workflow. I haven't had that moment yet. Again, it's good for the basic stuff of I just want this summarized. Great. I want you to. I've got this email that's 500 words, and I know that people aren't going to read it. Could you get it down to 200 words? I'm sure that's good too. But yeah, they're going to need some time, and we're going to. It's one of those areas where normally we say that, look, if you're putting this out for sale, then you're going to have to stand by it. But Apple's very quickly, I think they are going to be calling this beta even when they release it next month, I think, in April.
Well, I think
the AI features. So yeah, so they know it's going to take a while before it behaves the way that people are hoping it's going to behave.
And I think they have the luxury of that. Again, a lot of us are not sitting there just like, this has got to be right for us to buy something new or Apple, or we're going to leave and go to Android. I mean, none of that's happening. And so, we have all these tools that are already available, AI tools that are already built into our, that we're using on our phone, we're using on our iPad, we're using on our Mac. I guess I don't feel the pressure that a lot of people in the press seem to have about how Apple has to solve the AI problem. Now, the other AI tools are in an arms race. I mean, if you look at, all of these tools are, because they're software only and they don't have that lock-in, and I can sit there and go ChatGPT and next week decide I want to use Claude, or I'm using Midjourney right now and decide I want to switch over to something else. And so they all have to fight tooth and nail to keep up with each other. But I don't think Apple has the pressure on them to do any of those things.
I agree, and that's going to be a great feature when it does integrate. Because like you, I've got a folder on my Android phone that has like 4 different chat clients on it. But I also now have the new version of Android that has Google Gemini integrated. And once this thing is integrated into the phone experience, once there is just a gesture that brings it up, that is Tabasco, man. I can do the same things by simply, again, going to my app drawer, tapping on this and tapping on ChatGPT, tapping on Gemini, but that doesn't become muscle memory, like holding down a button, the wake button on your phone, and basically bringing up this assistant every single time, or having it anytime you hold, like the way that Apple's doing Apple Intelligence with a lot of text manipulations. Every interface box that can accept text can also interface with the LLM features of AI. That's the sort of thing where the low-hanging fruit features of AI will go over to those built-in features immediately, and that's when a lot of people decide, do I want to continue to spend $20 a month for Google Gemini Advanced, or I want to spend $20 a month for Claude or ChatGPT?
Yeah, just to be clear, what's going to happen is we have 18.0 out now with nothing. 18.1 is going to come out with Apple Intelligence next month, except in the EU, where it will be turned off. It will be marked as a beta. So 18.1 will be final, but the feature inside of final 18.1 will be a beta of Apple Intelligence, and you'll be able to turn it on. And that is the limited set of features that we've all been testing in late summer to now, which is things like summarization of text and writing tools and notifications. And there's a focus mode that tries to analyze your notifications and only let the good ones through. And that's going to be 18.1. 18.2 is now rumored to be a December release, and that will probably have all the features that Apple has claimed by the end of the year to be out. And that includes image generation with image playgrounds and Genmoji. It also includes integration with outside chatbots. So that's when you get your ChatGPT and possibly other chatbots integrated into the system if you want to go beyond what Apple is doing with their own stuff. So it's going to be, and this is to Andy's point, like, we are at, really, with 18.0 and 15.0, we are at ground zero. It is day zero of Apple Intelligence, and they're going to spend the next year at least trying to get back up to speed so that they can sort of feel confident that they're kind of up there with their peers come WWDC next year. But it's going to be a get up to speed situation, with 0.0 having no AI features, and then 0.1 just a dollop, and then 0.2 and presumably they've also promised some things that won't be this year, that will be next year. So that's more of a spring update. So this is going to be a whole process that begins now, but it begins now with nothing and begins next month with something.
And again, they have the luxury of not being in a rush while everyone else is rushing, trying to put out feature after feature after feature. They're sitting there building something that, it starts with 70% is going to be ChatGPT. 70% of your AI is going to be ChatGPT and Gemini or whatever. And 5 years from now, it's 10% or 5%.
Right.
They slowly fill that in because they're not in a rush, because they can build something over a very long period of time that no one else has the luxury of doing. And that's the real advantage that they have in the AI fight.
And one of the things that's still kind of cool, though, I mean, for instance, I have the Claude app on my phone, Perplexity app on my phone, and I've even put ChatGPT on the lock screen. So I have the talk version and the regular version right there on the lock screen, because it is something that you can just invoke right away. So we already have these tools. The thing that makes, I want to say AI because I'm always a shortcut person, but it doesn't work in this case. Apple Intelligence is so dope because of the personal context. And I think when I listen to people talk about it, especially those that are looking to make fun of it, they're not really understanding the personal context is what makes it fly. So if you've seen Apple's latest commercial, it's absolutely hilarious. And as a gentleman of a certain vintage, I could absolutely use that feature, right? So the girl, she walks into this party, probably a party in the Bay, and she sees this person and she ducks behind the wall real quick. And then she's like, hey, S girl, what was that name of that dude that I met at, Cafe Lindsay back 3 months ago? And it's like, oh, it was Zach Coogan. All right, cool. And she's like, hey, do you remember me? Yeah, Zach. It's like, oh, you remember? Jack, man, nobody knows that face. Nobody looks like Zach. And it makes you look so cool. And everybody knows people's most important thing is that you remember them. So again, being of a certain vintage, having those things to remind me, hey, when was the last time I saw Alex? And it'll be, it was April 19th at the Las Vegas Convention Center. True story, by the way.
So Apple is doing something very clever there, right? Which is their advantage, they're pressing an advantage they have, which is all of that on-device knowledge with the personal context that they can have through your email and your calendar and all of those things. And, part of it is that's what they've got. And so you press your advantage. I think they're also maybe hoping that is going to be the stuff that turns out to be really, really useful. That that trying to quiz an AI about the world is a thing you do, like with a search engine, but like where people are really going to appreciate this intelligence is personal stuff that is not just searching the world for knowledge like a search engine or maybe a GPT question
AI
is.
for everybody.
And so
That's
it's very smart for them to lean on that point, because when Apple Intelligence arrives, but I will say that personal context of your email, I do not believe is in a 0.1 release. That is going to even be further down the road, but they're going to just pre-sell it now because why not?
Well, again, they have so many opportunities to do things that if anybody else did was creepy, like if it was going on the web, and because it's all on your phone and it's all on device, and then when it airs out, it's going to a private. Yeah, it's going to be pretty intense.
As Apple people, we have to keep reminding our friends and family, or family as I like to call them, we have to keep reminding that this is on device. This is not the creepy one. This is on device. Well, because that's going to be something that most people still won't grok, or they won't understand, or they won't believe. So it's going to be up to us to keep reminding people that Apple doesn't know anything about you. This is just their phone.
Andy.
Yeah, well, we have to also make sure that people know that there's the creep. Like with Gemini, for instance, there is the model that runs on device that is for the stuff that is most useful and practical. Remember that this is one of those rare situations where normally $1 trillion company just we don't care about what we don't care about the environment, we don't care about locking people out. This is like, realize that the more we don't care about privacy, we're going to try to monetize everything, but the more processing they can do on your phone, where you're paying for the compute and you're paying for the electricity, the more money they can make off of their AI. So Google is really well motivated to make sure that as much happens on your phone as it possibly can. And I like the idea that there's the next step up model for stuff that is way beyond the capacities of your phone. So if you want to have that kind of functionality, there's there. And then they have like the Godzilla version of it, which is really just for supercomputing centers pretty much. So we're going to learn a lot about how these things scale. We're going to learn about the trade-offs between, as usual. I mean, we started this episode talking a little bit about Android versus iPhone, Android versus iOS, and it's always been really historically the name of that battle is: do you want the features that can only happen if you trust this company with a lot of your personal information? And if you accept the terms of that deal with a full knowledge and open eyes, great. There are a lot of things that Google can do for you that an Apple platform cannot do. However, would you rather forego some of those extra features to know that this is not a company that is not even indirectly making money off of my personal information? They are incentivized against monetizing my personal information. A lot of their features won't be as slick as it would be on an Android phone, but if that's the deal that you want to make and you want to sign to, that's great. That's why I'm glad that there are these two companies they're not the same company. They really are yin and yang with their approach.
And we should say it's more complicated than that, because there are devices that run on Google's phones and there are devices that run in Google's cloud. Likewise, some of the models for Apple Intelligence are running on the cloud. They're not on device. They are in the private cloud compute. And this complicates things, right? Because Apple's built a whole system. They don't have hard drives. They lose the data, but it's all encrypted. Apple doesn't know what's happening there, but it's also not happening on your phone for some of this stuff. And so that adds some complexity to it that it's going to be very hard to explain to our family and friends, because we have to come to grips with what is being used at all as well. This is something that we're going to talk much more about, but I want to take a break first for Leo, because Leo has been waiting patiently on a hard drive somewhere to tell you about our next sponsor.
Hi, guys. It's me again with another commercial. I know. Hold on. This is a good one. This is a company you want to know about. This is ThreatLocker. These guys make zero knowledge work for you. Do 0-day exploits. Terrifying, right? Because there's no way to prepare for them. And supply chain attacks, even more scary. Do they keep you up at night? They should, but now you can sleep. Sleep the sleep of lambs with ThreatLocker. Harden your security with ThreatLocker. Worldwide, companies like JetBlue trust ThreatLocker to secure their data and keep their business operations flying high, if you will. Imagine taking proactive, deny by default. This is the key. Deny by default. Take that approach to cybersecurity. That means blocking every action, every process, every user, just automatically, unless authorized by your team. That's zero trust. ThreatLocker helps you do this and provides a full audit of every action for risk management and compliance. You get that too. Their 24/7 US-based support team fully supports onboarding and beyond. Stop the exploitation of trusted applications within your organization and keep your business secure and protected from ransomware. Organizations across any industry can benefit from ThreatLocker's ring fencing by isolating critical and trusted applications from unintended uses or weaponization and limiting attackers' lateral movement within their network. ThreatLocker's ring fencing was this is a true story, able to foil a number of attacks that were not stopped by traditional EDR, including remember this, the 2020 cyber attack on SolarWinds Orion? We talked about it like crazy on security now, foiled by ring fencing from ThreatLocker. Oh, and really important, because I know you Apple people are saying, well, we don't have to worry. Yes, you do. First of all, A, you do. And B, ThreatLocker works on Macs too. So zero trust for Macs. Get unprecedented visibility and control of your cybersecurity quickly and easily and cost effectively. ThreatLocker's zero trust endpoint protection platform offers a unified approach to protecting users, devices, and networks against the exploitations of zero-day vulnerabilities. Get a free 30-day trial. Learn more about how ThreatLocker can help mitigate unknown threats and ensure compliance. Visit threatlocker.com, okay? Threatlocker.com. And we thank them so much for their support of MacBreak Weekly. And a reminder, even if you're on Macs, you need ThreatLocker. Threatlocker.com to find out more. Now, back to the show.
Thank you, Leo. Very nice. Now, are you all scared? Anyway, well, I am. I'm here, Jason Snell with Doc Rock, Alex Lindsay, Andy Anako. We're talking about new OS things that have happened because it's new OS release week. And I can't believe I've waited this long to talk about my very favorite operating system, macOS, which got an update as well. Remember the Mac, everybody? Yeah, it's MacBreak Weekly. Come on. macOS Sequoia 15.0 has come out as well this week. I likened it in my review on sixcolors.com to the opening act playing at a rock show where everybody's there to see the headliner, which is Apple Intelligence. Well, it's hard being the opening act, right? But it's here. All the other features are here. And that is what we've got until Apple Intelligence comes along. And there's a bunch of good features in in macOS 15.0 as well. It may not have the banner headliner thing, but sometimes when you go to a show, the opening artist turns out to be a gem. And there are some definite gems in macOS Sequoia. Among the favorites for me, iPhone mirroring, a feature that is very, very Apple ecosystem focused. But the fact is, they now let you not just view your iPhone. So if your iPhone is nearby, it's a continuity feature. You open iPhone mirroring and a window comes up on your Mac. That is your iPhone. It is the contents of your iPhone. You're essentially screen sharing your iPhone. And you can add and remove apps, move apps around. You can launch apps. And there are a lot of Mac apps that are not on the Mac that are on the iPhone. And but for me, the killer feature with iPhone mirroring is actually that when your phone is near your Mac, also all of its notifications get pushed to your Mac via Notification Center. So if you've got an iPhone-only app that wants to notify you about something on your iPhone, you get the notification on your Mac. And then if you click on that notification, it opens iPhone mirroring and takes you immediately to that app in order to deal with whatever you need to deal with. So smart. Very useful. I have definitely used it over the summer. And one of those features that, Only Apple could do it because it's an OS feature on both sides of the equation. But with iOS 18 and macOS Sequoia, you can finally do it. It's a pretty nice feature.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love the fact that it's not necessarily a compelling feature. It's not the sort of thing where it felt like, gosh, there seems to be a hole in macOS and we need to fill it because people are thirsting and yearning for exactly this. It's just something that makes it feels like the sort of thing that a project manager would simply notice, like, I've got my phone like right next to me because there are apps and communications that are on this phone that are not shared by the screen that I'm on right now. So I have to keep this like next door to it. The ability to simply say, no, why not just integrate that into your desktop environment where all your focus is, where the good keyboard and the good mouse is? How difficult would it be for us to do that? Well, difficult, not more difficult than how useful this would be. So yeah, those are the kind of features that I love to see Apple do. They're really good at polishing, really good at that fine tuning, making sure that the rounded rectangle is exactly the right radius. But I love it when they decide to do a feature that is just this clear and this sharp.
Yep, just a smart feature.
Phone mirroring is so good. It was the first thing I activated back in June with WWDC. And it is amazing how useful it is. And it's going to be one of those ones that people will laugh at first until they actually use it.
Right.
And when they use it, they're going to be like, how did we not have this for as long as we have? Because forever, I am perfectly comfortable in my chair. I got everything exactly right. Coffee's right here. We're good. Working. Oh man, the phone is all the way back in the kitchen. And it's just a hassle. It's a small thing, but it's a hassle. So even here, as I'm sitting here, my phone is here. I can grab it. But if I can just see what it is and I can know to ignore that and keep doing what I'm doing and remain focused, very helpful. Yeah. For people with easily squirrelable brains. So it's just glorious in so many ways. It's hard to describe how amazing it is, but it just is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's smart. Also, I should say, because you're probably thinking, because I know our audience, they're like, "Oh, I am very skeptical of this. Probably it's a reduced frame rate. And what about like audio? What if I want my favorite podcast player is on my iPhone? That's not going to work." And the answer is yes. It streams audio and it does it really well. And the animations are at full frame rate for your Mac. You can listen to podcasts from your iPhone playing through your Mac via iPhone mirroring, and it works. You can play games that are only on your iPhone through iPhone mirroring on your Mac, and it just works fine. It's because it's a continuity feature, your phone needs to be within, I forget what, 10 yards of your Mac, but that's about it. Once it connects, it's rock solid. It uses Bluetooth to connect like all the continuity features do, and then Wi-Fi to stream data. And the only thing I've noticed is, DRM is terrible. So if you try to watch a movie on it, it won't show you the video of it because DRM. But if you have a video app that doesn't have DRM, the video will play and it actually looks fine too. So they've done a really good job, and it's not going to change your world unless you're somebody like me who I usually don't keep my iPhone right by where I'm working. And it's a really nice upgrade to not have to go get the iPhone to deal with that text message that the iPhone sent to my watch, but I need to deal with it on my iPhone. And I don't have to deal with that anymore. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Super clutch.
Another feature I wanted to plug here from macOS Sequoia, window management. They've added a new tiling system. It is, yes, reminiscent of what Windows has done for a long time, but you know what? The point of base macOS features is to bring features to people who don't install any extra software that might help their lives. And while there are lots of apps that are great utilities that do this, Apple has put this basic functionality in so that if you drag a window off to the side, right at the edge, it will snap and pop open at half of, on that side. If you drag it to the corner, it'll do a quarter up in the corner. There are also keyboard shortcuts that are connected to this, so you can quickly just tap and shoot a window off to the left side or down to the bottom or whatever. And it is, again, not customizable. It's not for that, you should use another app. But I think Apple's target market for this is people who are never going to install another app, or are probably not, or never even thought about doing something like that. And for them, tiling windows and quickly sending windows places Yes, Microsoft has done this for a long time. Apple has been very slow to the party with this one, but I'm glad they finally realized, it's nice that you have Spaces and Stage Manager and all these other things, but some of us just have a bunch of windows on a screen and we want to manage them. And that's our window management technique is lots of windows. And they're like, okay, we got you with this feature. We got you a little bit.
I think you're right. And also the idea of this is a Windows world, and that is like tables. That is a basic feature that is in the most popular operating system. Actually, if Windows and Linux both have like the idea of Windows managers that do tiling built in, just as it would have been very, very weird if Apple decided not to support a 2-button mouse at some point. At some point, it's good for them to recognize that this is something that people who are not living 100% in the Apple world are going to sort of expect. But I hope you can answer one question for me, because I haven't installed it on my MacBook yet. And I wasn't using the betas. What I didn't like about the previous tiling feature, which is the Windows menu, tile this, snap this to the left, make this to the right. What it would do was not understand what I wanted it to do. All I wanted is I just want to arrange these windows. I don't want you to create a new space in which these two apps are now the two apps in that space. I just want to rearrange these things. So does this new feature in Sequoia just simply say, is it just moving the window and not creating new spaces?
In the grand tradition of Apple window managers, which never interact with one another in any way, which, again, don't get me started, this has nothing to do with spaces. It will put two windows side by side rather than putting you in side by side mode. So, and you can get to it from the window menu. You can use it by a drag. If you want to, if dragging windows, like this bothered me, I would drag windows to the top of my screen all the time. It was a common Mac gesture. And they kept like blasting out to be the top half of my screen. I'm like, no. But you can actually turn that off if you want. And there's another option, which is to hold down the Option key while you're dragging in order to do the snapping. And it'll even give you a little preview of what it's doing. So it's pretty customizable. And it's all happening in one space with your windows to put them where you want. And again, is it something that Windows has done for a long time? Microsoft Windows, yes, it has. And are there tools like Moom from Manytricks, my old pal Rob Griffiths, who does Manytricks, and there are many others like that? Yes, if you want to have it go in thirds and have all customizable keyboard shortcuts. And like there are, what I hope will happen actually, and this tends to happen, I think, when Apple adds new features is Apple doesn't Sherlock them. Apple creates a feature that will please, a portion of the user base who will discover it and go, oh, well, that's cool. And then a little sub portion of that user base will go, oh, but I'd like to do more. And that's when you show those utilities to them and say, actually, have I got a set of utilities for you? But for basic window management, tying that in, if you click and hold on the green button on a window, you will get a little fly out that will give you a whole bunch of different options. And again, it's under the window menu of almost every app. There's a new move and resize option that will give you left, right, top, bottom, top, left, top, right, top, bottom, and an arrange feature that will move everything around. And then below it, there's a thing called full screen tile, which is what you're referring to, which is when they do the split view kind of thing. But you don't have to do that.
I think I'll just say ones. Just quickly, the tiling is underappreciated. That right now I've got my MacBook in front of me. I've got my iPad as a second screen on a little stand above it, and because this is the screen that I'm using Zoom for, I've got Zoom as a full width window at the top half. I've got a Slack window for side conversations lower left, and I've got like a sticky window that's just like little notes of names and numbers that I'm probably not going to be able to call up in my memory. Those things can't overlap because it's not. I don't want to have to navigate through Windows. So that's why I'm glad to see that Apple is recognizing and supporting this sort of thing. And as you said, not doing it in such a way that makes all these other utilities obsolete, but one that will make people realize that, oh, this is a way of life that is actually quite positive. And for just $7, I can actually make it even better than this.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I was going to say that's also really handy, as a person who's always having to do screen shares, I can set my window to like that perfect 1920 by 1080. And then if I accidentally move it when I go to screen share it in Ecamm or whatever, it can be kind of out of whack. So one of the things you can do is if I go to tile it out the way so that I can do my next job, I can return to the previous size and it'll go back and it'll stay where I left it. So that's what I've always done with Moom is I set Control 1 as the keyboard to make any window instantaneously 1920 by 1080, because when you go to screen share all the time, it is such a mess. And I wish apps actually had a button for that, because they know we're going to share this stuff, but now you can just do it. So
it's
helpful.
not an undo. That's the thing that I think is really brilliant about it, is if you drag a window off to the side and it goes to fill half the screen, you're like, no, that's not what I want. Or, okay, now I'm done with that. And you drag it back and let go. It goes back to the size and place where you took it from the first time. It actually remembers that. It's just a really nice detail feature. Again, not going to change the world, and it's not going to replace every window manager that's out there. But again, that's not the point. The point is some people don't want to have third-party apps or don't even know they exist. They just want more functionality on their Mac, and they can get it with that feature, which is really nice. I want to mention Safari, which this actually has ramifications for iOS and iPadOS too, but I wanted to mention it here. A bunch of new features in Safari arrive with this, including something that is called Safari Viewer, which is reader mode for video. If you're ever on a site that plays video in a frame, they're basically like, we're gonna show you this, but we have complete control of the UI. Major League Baseball is a good example of that. I actually have this. So Major League Baseball, you bring up a window and it has all these controls and stuff. You can just go into viewer mode and you can force it to go full screen in your window. So get rid of all the Chrome, get rid of your web page, get rid of all the junk around here. I think it works with YouTube too. Just show me the video. Also, at that point, you've got picture-in-picture controls. You've got Apple's standard video controls. So basically, and there have been bookmarklets that do stuff like this and a whole bunch of other stuff. But what you really want is to just say, can you let the system handle this video, please?
And the reality is that almost everybody's delivering the videos to you via HLS. And so there's an HLS stream hidden in there somewhere. And Apple just goes into if you go to anybody's tabs, if you go into the developer mode, you can always see in the code, here's the HLS stream right here. Here's the M3U8. And so all they're doing is going to grab that M3U8 and going, okay, I have that now. When you share a video from your phone from a web page to your Apple TV, you'll notice it gets rid of that. They're doing the same thing. They're not sending the video from your phone to the Apple TV. They're sending the HLS M3U8 to the Apple TV. And that's why there's a little bit of a delay, and then it starts to play. And so they're doing the same thing here that they were doing there, except that it's on the device.
Yeah, my other favorite Safari feature, it's controversial, but I love it. It's called Hide Distracting Items, and this is why I love it, is they don't call it an ad blocker. It is sort of an ad blocker, but what Apple is saying by calling it Hide Distracting Items is saying, hey, this is not a feature to destroy the economics of people who publish things on the web. This is a feature to empower our users to stop being distracted when they're trying to read something on the web. And I think implicit in the title is that breaking of the covenant between publishers and readers, where they're saying, yeah, we're going to give you this content, but we're going to have a big blinking thing on the side that's just going to stay there and annoy you and make it impossible to read what you're watching now. So you can do this thing, and you basically go into a mode where it's tap on the thing that you hate, tap on the thing that hurt you, and you tap on it and you tap hide, or on the Mac you click and click hide. And on the Mac, it's actually better, I think, than on iOS, because you can use your trackpad to scroll and you can find all the offenders in one go and then press done. And then when you click hide, as if Thanos was snapping his fingers, the thing disappears in an animation as a rain of dust or rainbow confetti to get rid of that thing. And, I put an example in my review where Ars Technica, it's a really great site. I love it. But they have this habit, and I know why they do it. It's because they're selling ads, pre-roll ads against their video, where they will embed video. My old site used to do this. They embed video unrelated to the story in the story and then put a pre-roll ad against it. And I'm trying to read a story, and this video is just playing, and it plays forever. It's worse than an animated ad. It just keeps playing forever. And it's like, I'm sorry, Ars Technica, you are distracting me. I am going to snap my fingers and make it go away. So it's I think it is worth recognizing the fact that there's a difference between ads that are respectful of the user and ads that are not respectful of the user. And this is not a feature that is a blanket ad blocker. It is much more tactical than that. And that's one of the reasons I really like it. It's literally like, you over there, I hate you.
Well, it also,
and you make it go
and
away.
they're smart enough to make it refresh when you come back.
And it also helps it identify what you're wanting to get rid of, because when you click on it, it goes, "Oh, I know it. I see that in
it's
the
got
code."
It's figuring out the div and the HTML and
it goes,
and
"Oh, I see what
highlighting it. Yeah.
So it's getting rid of it. So you think it makes it very hard for ad blockers to get through. It's actually more effective than an ad blocker because it's allowing the human to go, no, 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 no. It's not something that's
based on page
formulaic
structure, visible page structure that they can't avoid by changing the name. Now they can rotate the names, and when you come back to the site later, that unit might be there again.
But it could get smarter. It could get smarter where it just goes, well, I know where things are there, and if you change it, theoretically, Safari could get to a point where it's getting way smarter about how that goes, because it knows where that box is.
I don't know how far down that road Apple will go, because I think what is guiding them here, and again, I think this allows, it's also a story they can tell that shields them from some of this criticism, but I think that there's something right here, which is this is about empowering users to turn off things on their device, on their web page that they're viewing that they don't want to see. And like reader mode, like at the end of the day, if I don't want to see something on the screen, I don't really care about your business model. I don't want to see that thing on the screen. And a thing I've discovered, by the way, and this is amazing, because I've discovered that if you don't use an ad blocker and you use this feature, you see some of the tricks that publishers use for ad blockers. And one of them is I make a super distracting animated ad disappear. And you know what appears suddenly underneath it is a not distracting, not animated ad. And like, I'm fine with it. You can do your thing. Like, I don't mind you. It was the bad ad that was on top. And clearly that's there so that on a browser that is going to reject that animated ad, they had a second go where they're like, aha, there's more ads underneath. And that's fine. I don't mind that. I just don't want to be distracted. And it is so hard to read the web these days because we have gone way past Punch the Monkey. And it's not, we are in the deep dystopia of multiple autoplay videos now.
Yeah. And where it's really, really handy to me is there has been situations where I'm trying to teach something and I'm trying to show this to users. And for whatever reason, that site it's a really good utility or a really good story, but this site has those ads. Remember back in our macro days, there was that one company that we all kind of was like, your app doesn't really do what you say it does. And I see what you're doing here on the floor, and it's, it's not cute. You guys remember them. They were our famous Mac utility app. Well, now I don't have to go through all kind of weird things to hide that from the screenshots that I want. But the other thing is when you're using the ad blocker, you would oftentimes, I just need this one thing from this particular site and I go here, and because I have my ad blocker turned on, I have to, basically whitelist this to see literally 4 words on the site. And you get the big thing is like, I forgot it's something Admiral and we can't show you this because you have an ad blocker on. And it's like, okay, cool. So now you don't have to deal with all of that stuff. And you also, if you need screenshots or you're trying to show something, teach somebody something, you definitely don't want to see ads for hymns or some other things that, I'm going to go teach an older person about something. I don't want to see ads about, dysfunctions or whatever on my page. It just doesn't help. Super cool.
Andy, you were going to say something?
No, all I was really going to say, actually, I've completely forgotten what I was going to say because I was listening. I was listening.
Okay,
to Doc.
Doc Rock has that effect on all of us. Really, he starts talking, and we're like, "Oh, Doc Rock, tell us more, Doc."
I told you guys, it's a gentleman of a certain vintage. This is what we do. Walk into the kitchen, and then be like, "I was here to fix my car."
Yeah, what's going on? What are we doing here? Well, okay, I will mention another macOS feature that is also obviously across the system, but I want to mention it here, which is Passwords, the Passwords app, which was, passwords have been in the system settings for a long time. This is iCloud, password saving, autofill, and Safari, and all of that. They've broken it out into an app now, and I'm glad they did. I was one of the people who kept saying, this should be an app. And they're like, all right, it's an app now. You've got it. But it's good to have it be an app because it's more visible. It's easier to say, go to the passwords app and not go to the settings app and scroll down and then click again and then authenticate and then you'll get there. Now there's just an app that you have to authenticate to open and then you've got all your stuff there. And it's got your two-factor, it's got your Wi-Fi passwords, it's got all your passwords saved there. You can import from other password managers if you want to. And I like it. I think it's good. I have a couple of notes. One is when I imported a test set, my passwords, 2,000 of them that I've collected over the years from 1Password. The import bogged down. First off, it acted as if nothing had happened. So I did it again a second time. And then about 5 minutes later, it said importing 4,000 passwords. I was like, no. At which point, I had to delete them because I had duplicated my entire thing. So I have some notes here. One is when you're doing an import, you need to say that you understood that you're doing an import. And I think they missed a step where they're like, they need to acknowledge that the import is happening. They failed that. They should dedupe, which they did not do, which is a problem. And then when I hit delete on 4,000 items, it took a while. I'll just put it that, like, literally you could see the progress bar say 1, 2, 3, 4. And I thought, oh boy, that's 4,000. I'll be back. I went and made myself a sandwich. It was a lot. So they've got some work to do on some of the UI aspects of this thing. Also, the other thing I wanted to note is as a 1Password user, and I know it's not fair because they're not the same. And 1Password sponsored this episode, but be that as it may. I'm just saying, I have come to expect a collection of things available to me for autofilling, including my credit cards. And one of the challenges Apple has here is Apple built a different system called Wallet for credit cards. And you can store your credit cards in there. And it doesn't have to be part of Apple Pay, although it can be. The problem is 1Password is very good at sussing out credit card fields on web pages and autofilling for you. And Apple's wallet feature is not as good. It's just not as good. And the downside of that is with 1Password, you can use a keyboard shortcut to bring up a floating thing that gives you all your credit card information and you can grab it on your clipboard and paste it in, or you can open a little floating window and click and copy and paste. And Apple, good luck to you. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And where did you store? Go find your credit card and bring it back to your computer at that point. So I feel like there's a lot. I mean, people save notes and things in 1Password, and there's secure notes. Like there are analogs, but I feel like what I've learned in using passwords over the last few months is that Apple's challenge is going to be a little more flexible with how people use the web. And this app is nice, but their autofill right today is not as good for things, especially for things like credit cards, as what the competition, the third-party app competition is. So I hope that they step up their game a little bit, but it's great to see Apple in the game with an actual app that isn't hidden behind a couple of clicks in a totally different app.
Yeah, I think it's good that they're giving this away for free, and they're making it really, really a good. They're making a strong point to their users about how important it is to use a password manager, because it's not just about, I can't remember my passwords. It's about generating strong passwords for everything, and making strong passwords so easy to use that why would you not use strong passwords on everything? The only drawback is that this is great for people who are really happy being entirely in the Apple ecosystem. The first time that I have to log into something using not my iPhone or not my iPad, that's going to be a bummer because I can't remember 24 random digits and characters in Unicode emoji. But yeah, no, this should be free with every single platform that's out there. You need to have password management. It needs to be backed up. And you need to basically, until we can get rid of passwords for good, you're going to need a tool like this. And it's good that you don't have to, it's not reliant on someone paying $20 a month for the privilege.
Yeah.
Good. I think of it as something like this real quick, Andy. Apple has had a way of including a feature that brings attention to something that the muggles don't necessarily pay attention to. And so I have been screaming 1Password for almost 20 years, right? Maybe like since it first came out. And I bought the family plan and paid for it to force my family on 1Password because they would be the ones to do something vulnerable that would just jack everybody up. So I have my friends, I have clients. I'm like, I won't work on your machine unless you use a couple of things. Backblaze 1Password. You have to, otherwise don't call me. I don't want to have anything to do with fixing anything that doesn't have those on the machine. I think it's very important. So this allows us a way to introduce, like you said, that responsibility to people who still don't quite get it. And then when they run into the, oh, I wish this was easier. Hey, guess what? There's something that's going to cost you like $2.99 a month, but it solves that. And here it is. And so I like the fact that it introduces them to them it's that spoonful of sugar, ditty by that one song, you know, and I think it's helpful there. So I think it's a great way to introduce people who aren't really understanding why we're so the way we are. Now they can see, and then they can see also how fast it is and why you don't have to have Oscar the Cat 1 as your freaking password for stuff, people.
Yeah. I'm always flabbergasted that, man, free versus any price that is not free, that is such a high wall for most people to climb. If you say that it'll cost you $1 a month, or for an entire year, $5. If you want it for lifetime, $10, and it will save you lots of worry on so many levels. It's like, oh, but if it's $1, I don't know. And I appreciate that, like, you have to be careful about subscriptions that you're going to forget about, but it's just the idea that you really have to wrestle somebody to the ground and just basically pummel them with logic to get them to think that, yes, this is not free, but that's a good thing. You want people to be making money off of this because they're being paid for the app, not because they are figuring out how to basically, work you over for your private information. You don't want this to be sold to a Russian conglomerate owned by another Russian conglomerate that is now like harvesting all your Bitcoin that you didn't know you bought because you also didn't know that they were getting into your bank accounts. I wish that's one thing that I wish that we could change about how people think about value for money, that sometimes things cost things, and just because it costs something doesn't mean that you shouldn't consider it.
I think the secret sauce of the App Store was at least eliminating the friction of it versus having to go to a webpage or go to a store and buy something. But still, it's a huge thing to leap over. And then the other part is just pre-installed. The fact that it's already there and you don't have to do anything. Because I think, again, those of us who are very technical look at all of this stuff, the window tiling and the password manager and all those things, and think, come on, there are like third parties that are so much more functional and they're cross-platform and they do all these things. It's like, yeah, but a lot of these Apple features aren't meant for those users, aren't meant for us. They're meant for people who are not going to install third-party apps or even think of it. And it might be a gateway to them installing utilities down the road, but like the basic stuff. So Apple putting the password manager in there and integrating it a few years ago was huge because, the people extolling the virtues of password managers can only go so far. It's hard to reach those people. And I got my mom set up with this. And again, I'm not using my mom metaphorically. My mom had a book that she wrote her passwords in. And I'm like, we can't do this. And then she's like, where is it? And they're like lined out. And then there's a new one in highlighter and then it's lined out. And I'm like, I don't even know which one of these is the password. And I got her into autofill. But one of my problems was, how do I explain where the passwords interface is? Because it's in settings down below. And now it's just like, go to the passwords app where your passwords live. If you have a problem, it's so much better to do that. So it's a win for a lot of people, even if a lot of our sophisticated users might think otherwise. So much more we have to talk about here, and we will talk about it, I swear, except for the things we don't. But first, I have been told Leo Laporte is desperate to tell you one more thing. Leo?
Hey, this episode of... Oh, hi. It's me, Leo. But you know what? You've heard me say this so many times. Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com/twit. We love CacheFly for over 20 years. CacheFly's held a track record for high-performing, ultra-reliable content delivery, serving over 5,000 companies in over 80 countries. We're one of those companies. We've been using CacheFly for almost our entire lifetime, more than 15 years. And it's great. That's our content delivery network. That's how we get our shows to you. We love their lag-free video loading, their hyper-fast downloads, their friction-free site interactions. CacheFly is the only CDN, content delivery network, built for throughput, ultra-low latency in their video streaming, less than 1 second latency while you're delivering video to more than 1 million concurrent users. Wow. Lightning fast gaming delivers downloads faster with zero lag, glitches, outages. Mobile content optimization offers automatic and simple image optimization so your site loads faster on devices with any size screen. You can, this was really important to us. You get flexible month-to-month billing for as long as you need to figure out, what you need. And then as soon as you do, you can get discounts for fixed terms. The point is you design your own contract when you switch to CashFly. That was really important. We're just a little guy. Made a big difference. CashFly delivers rich media content. This number is so important, up to 158% faster than the other guys in the other major CDNs, and allows you to shield your site content in their cloud, which means you get 100% cache hit ratio. Those other guys come to us all the time, and we say, no, we're good. We've got CashFly. We love CashFly. And we love CashFly's elite managed packages. You get VIP treatment. Your dedicated account manager will be with you from day one, ensuring a smooth implementation and reliable 24/7 support when you need it. And I should say if you need it, because we very rarely need any support. It's almost always our fault. CashFly is unbelievably reliable. We love CashFly. Learn how you can get your first month free at cashfly.com/twit. Let me say it again. Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CashFly at cachefly.com/twit. Thank you, CashFly. Now back to the show.
Thank you, Leo. I'm going to do a lightning round here, but I stepped on Alex as we were going to the ad break. Alex, do you have a thought, or has it fled like so many men of a certain age flee thoughts from their?
I was like, "What are we talking about?" I went off.
It's all in the past. Hey,
I think all I was going to say is that it's really important if you're watching is whatever you use is that you do autofill and you have it create hashes. You should not have the same password everywhere. It should be different. It should be complex. You have a handful of passwords that get you into the password manager. And what's great about whatever you're using, it should be something that's facial recognition or fingerprint or some kind of biometric solution. It just, you can't be. This is just something that happens all the time. People are losing passwords all the time. And what you want to make sure of is that you lose a password is only to one service, and it's just a hash. And it doesn't. The problem is that any password that gets shared that isn't a hash shows someone the pattern of how you build passwords, and that allows them to get into other things pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's the last thing anybody wants. All right, it's time. I'm going to do it right here. This is the beginning of the lightning round, but it's also the beginning of the Vision Pro segment.
What do you see? What do you know? It's time to talk the Vision Pro.
What better time to talk about Vision Pro than the release of visionOS 2, subtitled "The Stuff We Couldn't Fit in visionOS 1 by Ship Date." Seriously, I've used visionOS 2, which has shipped on Monday. All of you Vision Pro heads out there probably already have it. But what I'm saying is, what are you doing? Is there anybody out there who's using a Vision Pro on visionOS 1? And they're like, I'm not sure I should update to visionOS 2 because I have lots of things that are very important that work on visionOS 1. And I don't want to upset my workflow any. No. You're on the cutting edge. Update now. I'm telling you, this is me, Jason. Yeah. Hi, I've been doing this a long time. If there is one Apple update that you should not even ask a question about, but just install, it is visionOS 2, which is really good and adds a bunch of nice little bits, but a lot of nice little bits. And again, it feels very much like, yeah, okay, is it 1.2 or 1.3? I suppose it sort of is, but I really am happy that they've done a visionOS update. It does add some of these features like Passwords app is actually on Vision Pro, which is great, and a mind-bogglingly good fake 3D effect for still photos, where it uses some machine learning analysis to turn your old 2D photos into 3D photos. It's really good, and a bunch of other little things in there too. Good stuff. What are you waiting for? Rush out now and install visionOS 2.
And to put it in perspective, I'm going to install on my main machine. I will install Sequoia sometime between March 1 and May 1 of next year.
That's all right.
I am installing Vision, now.
Now.
So I didn't get to it this morning, but
you just gotta do it. My favorite part is when it says, "All right, I'm ready to install the update. Please take off Vision Pro now." What happens if you don't? Well, it won't. It's not going to let you. It's not going to let you witness what a software update looks like inside Vision Pro. Our brains aren't ready for that. So you take it off, and then it's like, okay, now I'll update.
The one question I had with the spatial photos is whether it's using any of the LiDAR data that it has. So it has that depth data for all the stuff you shot with your phone. Focus used to be able to grab onto it,
Right.
and if you're shooting that stuff, it has that data there. I'm wondering whether it's cheating. I mean, it can probably do any photo, but I wonder whether it has that photo. It's in your photo. It's sitting in there.
I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is the reverse, which is you can take. I took photos that were scanned from film from the 70s and ran this on it,
And it worked well.
It looked so good. Every now and then there's something where you can see that the algorithm's been confused, sort of like in the early days of portrait mode. There are
Right.
certain compositions that it misjudges the depth of photos, but it's so good. I really, I mean, I went into it with such skepticism that it was going to be really bad, and it's very good. But you're right, Alex. If they've got depth data, they should be able to use that to extrude out their 3D image without really any work, because that depth data is there.
Or without, it gives them a lot of cheats. There may be some work because the data that comes with the data that comes from the LiDAR is very sparse. So it's not actually very dense, but it gives them a sense of where
Some
everything
hints.
is.
Yeah.
It gives them a lot of hints that they could theoretically grab onto. Also, if you're streaming, if you see a spatial stream, this is something that we've been playing with in visionOS 2, you can simply watch it in Safari. You click on it and go full screen in Safari, and it goes, I'm just going to give you that spatial stream
Look at that.
directly. So
Nice.
it's
A lot of little just little details that they're working out that that they wanted to put in 1.0 and they couldn't do it, and that they're adding it in now. I hope we continue to see this over the next year. I hope it's not like, well, now 2 sits here until next summer. I want them to keep adding things, but it is a nice update that everybody using a Vision Pro should.
Well, especially because people keep thinking that it's like the team is being shrunk down or whatever. But the killer feature to me is, well, let's just say there is a wide array of adjustments that makes everything good. Man, when you bring up the display and it's like my entire freaking living room is the display. I don't know where you guys live, but in Honolulu, our houses are small. But you know what? I could walk to the beach, so shut up. It is so good. It is super, super good. And the gesture is so much easier than, to pull on your control center or whatever. The gesture is so much easier. I like it.
Yeah.
The other gesture, I find myself just looking weird being on the couch reaching for the air. And sometimes I would turn back the background and I would look over there and Karen is over there just like making fun of me reaching to the sky. I was like, you know what, jerk? Now I don't have to reach into the sky. I can just do one of these numbers.
Doc, you got 2 in the Bay Area and somebody else in New England here, so we all know about cost of living. But I will say one of the things. So you mentioned Mac Virtual Display, not in the shipping 2, but is coming with the idea that you can just take your Mac display and make it super wide, which is going to be a great productivity boost for Mac users. But then the other thing I wanted to mention is what you said, which is hand out, and have you ever really looked at your hand? It gives you a little button that you can basically tap your fingers together and it brings up the app list. And that's fine. But the best thing is when you put your hand out and look at it and then you flip it over like you're checking your watch, it brings up the little pellet with the time and access to Control Center. And like when they described it at WWDC, I was like, okay, I guess. After using it for just a few hours, it's second nature. It's like, it's a really good gesture. It is so much better than having to like look around for a little dot and tap and go through some menus. You just do this and tap and you're Tom Cruise in it at that point. It feels a little bit like, but once you learn it, it's really easy and it's really accessible. Very nice feature.
I have told myself 3 different flights that I'm going to take it with me on the plane. I still haven't taken it with me on the plane.
It is next level. Like as someone who's just on a plane,
Really?
I used to sit in the aisle all the time, and now I sit by the window so that no one bothers me while I'm in the headset. And you get it on, and some people I know will go gate to gate, like literally as soon as they sit down, they just turn it on. I wait until we take off. and then once we take off though, and usually what's really interesting is now I'm very aggressive about eating or drinking before I get on the plane. I don't want anyone to bother me once I'm in there, because once I turn it on, you turn it up and you're watching movies, you're playing. I watch a lot of movies. Like that's the big thing. And you have a giant screen like that for whatever reason, because of the way the video, I've talked about this before, but the Vision Pro, I see sharper than I see in a movie theater. I see the screen better. So So I have this giant screen in front of me. I turn if I hear someone coming by, I can turn it down and I can see someone over there and I can move my screen over and talk to them. And then I can move it back. And I just live in my own little world for the next 4 or 5 hours and watching movies, playing a couple games, doing whatever I'm going to do. I play chess. On the thing against the computer. And it does look funny because someone looked over and said, I couldn't figure out what you were doing because you're going like this like for an hour. Like it was, I absolutely, it makes the flights just disappear for me. Like
I was decorating really, a cake.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it's really, really good. It's an incredible experience.
If you take the train a lot, there's official train support in travel mode now on Vision Pro as well. So they because they have to do some things involving motion tracking when the accelerometer is kind of like unreliable because you're on a plane, and they've now added that training in for train travel so that the train travel is now fully supported in travel mode as well.
This is totally perfect because I'm normally not a bag checker. But because of this thing, the reason why I'm coming to Ecamm headquarters next month is we're doing this big event. So I have to bring hardware. And so this time I'm going to be, 6 Pelicans deep. So since I got to check a bag, I'll check the extra heavy stuff in the Pellies, and then I'll finally bring it on the plane.
Do it. It's gonna change your life. Or at least it'll be cool for a flight. That's the Vision Pro segment. Do we have more music for that? I don't know.
Now you see, now you know. We're done talking the Vision Pro.
Upgrade now. Moving on to the grab bag here at the end of the show. watchOS 11 also came out, including the sleep apnea feature that was announced last week. It has been approved by the FDA, and it is in watchOS 11. So you start wearing your Apple Watch at night. 30 days later, it will tell you some facts about whether you might have sleep apnea and go see a professional. And there's a bunch of other stuff in there, including one of my favorite new features in watchOS 11 is the widgets. Now, I believe you can get what used to be live activities on your phone will appear as widgets on your watch. It's just a little thing, but it's really nice because it gives you access to that phone information when your phone is in your pocket by looking at your watch. And there's a bunch of other little details in there too. The Vitals app, which is basically logging overnight. If they really want you to wear the watch overnight, and I never do, so I've started to try and do it where I charge a little before bed and then charge a little when I'm taking a shower in the morning and try to wear it overnight so that I can get this information. The Vitals app is while you're asleep, it's the best time to measure your vitals, and then they can give you information about sort of like ongoing changes in your body temperature and other things, and give you a heads up to that. A bunch of really nice new stuff in watchOS for fans of the Apple Watch.
Yeah. And you can change. I understand you can change the phone ringtone as well. So you don't. If it's ringing through your phone, you can now select something else. Again, if that's true, it's like, who is this company? Why? That's actually giving the users options as opposed to locking them into the best choice possible.
It's good. It's good. And I should also say, the sleep apnea feature is not just on the new Apple Watches. It actually will work with the most recent generation of Apple Watch, Series 9 and Ultra 2. So you don't have to buy a new watch to get the sleep apnea detection. It's already baked in there. Let's see, what else? tvOS. Hey, everybody. We don't even have a song for this one, but tvOS on the Apple TV got an update. This has got that insight feature, which is like X-ray on Amazon, where if you pause a show in the TV app, it will tell you who those actors are and give you links. And also, if you're following along with your phone, you can actually see that data on your phone in the TV app while you're watching on an Apple TV. That's really cool. I think my favorite feature of this is the audio processing stuff that's in there, where you can actually do voice isolation. So one of the features is you can basically say, I want you to elevate the dialogue.
It's the Christopher Nolan filter.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan filter. We'd like to we'd like to understand what people are actually saying.
I want to know what those people are saying without turning on captions. And of course, if you mute, the captions come on. It's an option. You can turn that off. And if you back up, the captions come on briefly. So if you're backing up to see what they said, you will actually get the captions then, which I have been using for the last few weeks. And it is great because I don't want captions all the time. And I never did the Siri thing, which is like, what did they just say? I just hit the remote and go back. And now the captions come on, and it's great. Great little feature. Nice quality of life improvement.
Can
And
we
all,
just
all I can say is that Tenet is a completely different movie with the captions.
Oh, I mean, time travel. Who
Maybe
knew
now
a
with the
time travel
voice.
movie would be
No,
complicated?
it's so complex. It's so complex the way that they do it. It is so complex that if you don't understand what they're saying, you can't. I don't know. I mean, it's harder without the words. But when you get the words, you're like, you watch it. Even then, it hurts your head a little bit. But when you watch it, it starts to make a lot more sense. It's a different movie.
I do have a beef though. However, there's a streaming. My opinion is streaming TV boxes. They're almost all like 99% the same. They just basically connect you to the streaming apps that you actually use. Apple TV was going to have one thing that I thought was going to distinguish it and make me want to buy it. That is the Snoopy screensavers. They're supposed to be Apple TV screensavers. You got your Snoopy and Woodstock like floating through space and bouncing off the edge of the screen. You got your Snoopy and Woodstock like sleeping on the doghouse and waking up and flying around. And apparently that's been delayed. It was in the feature quilt in the announcement in June, and they just basically said no, you don't get to have nice things.
Keep saving your pennies. And maybe they'll let you.
Maybe I will. Later. I will reward you, Apple TV, once you actually deliver.
Yeah, you got never buy hardware. Never buy hardware in the promise of a software update.
Wise words.
Once
Jason.
that ships, then we will be there. AirPods are the reviews are coming out about the new AirPods, but I think the big AirPods news is this: the FDA. Speaking of various regulatory bodies, the FDA has also authorized the AirPods software update as a over-the-counter hearing aid for the first time. Now, this is a little different. Unlike the Apple Watch sleep apnea, which shipped with the OS update, Apple needs to do some work here. This has to be enabled by changes to the AirPods Pro firmware on the AirPods Pro 2. That's something that they have to push out. And they also have to push out an iOS update because there are actually changes. The hearing test is driven by the Health app, which is an iOS app that must be updated via an iOS update, a full OS update. So 18.0 does not have these features. When they're coming, I would imagine Apple wants it out there as quickly as possible so they can reap the benefits of this, but I don't know what their timing is. Is there an 18.0.1 in the wings that pushes this out? Is it an 18.1 in October? My bet would be that if 18.1 is coming October 1st, maybe not. If it's coming October 20th, I think there will be an update before then to enable this feature because they want it out there. But just if you're wondering if they've got a secret switch they can flip to enable this, I have it on good authority. That means I heard from Apple that no, it will require some updates to do that. So stay tuned. But still, as we talked about, I think last week, just a big, this is going to be big, and it's not going to solve everything, and it's not going to destroy the hearing aid market. None of those hyperbolic things are true, but providing access to a hearing test and hearing aid features in an over-the-counter product that a lot of people already have, and for people who maybe would feel stigmatized by using hearing aids but will not feel stigmatized by using AirPods Pro, I think this is just one of those great little moments. Maybe, I think maybe even somebody on this panel suggested this last week, maybe in some ways the biggest world-changing announcement of everything announced last Monday is AirPods as hearing aids. So it's almost here. Not quite yet, but it's been approved.
It's amazing that the Apple, with this one feature, they've reclassified AirPods as now part of their health initiative, which in and of itself, people are going to be buying AirPods just for these health benefits. And this is not something that Apple did a breakthrough with regulation in and of itself. The FDA has been on this, I think, guided mostly by the Biden administration to basically have this reclassify hearing aids as as long as it's an in-the-ear solution, not something that is surgically done, then why are we forcing this to be people to buy things from a limited list of people who put all these conditions upon it and charge $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 onto it? But the idea of being able to spend $250 for a solution that, if you have mild to moderate hearing loss, is going to help you, that's such a big deal. And we're about business. It is going to drive so many sales because, once again, this is now a health product. It's not just something about, oh, wow, spatial audio. I'm watching this movie and I see the flying monkeys are now above my head, but now back of my head. It's like, no, now I can actually take part in conversations with my children and not have them run. At least the reason why they run away and don't want to talk to me anymore is not because I keep asking them to please repeat themselves.
Well, I think that one of the things that's interesting there is when we talk about lobbying and so on and so forth, who would be the biggest benefactor of making many things a hearing aid? Apple. So they spent a lot of time in DC, and so this has been probably a long campaign of opening that up, and probably Apple might have been involved in some of those things, of talking to them about like, hey, maybe this doesn't make sense because they're planning to go down this path. I think the other thing that's interesting is that it really, with the ducking that's going on with the hearing aid process and so on and so forth, you're getting to a point where people are potentially just wearing AirPods all the time. You just get used to that everybody's got AirPods on all the time, you don't know whether they're hearing aids, you don't know. And again, if they're ducking when you're talking to them, then they're able to interact. And it's a very interesting puzzle there. And it also means that people may end up with two pair, because, the battery won't last, I don't think, really all day. With the case it will,
Alex,
but I think it's like 5 hours of listening time.
You just brought up something that a lot of people, especially our age, are going to forget. A lot of people assume hearing aids are for us, right? But right. I have a friend who's no longer with us, but she was absolutely gorgeous female, and the one thing that she was the most self-conscious about was her hearing aids, right? She was born, not hearing as well as the rest of us, and it literally drove her nuts. And I'm like, we should just always tell her, like, you legit one of the most beautiful people on the planet. Like, when people think of what do women in Hawaii look like, you're it. But it bothered her so much. AirPods are a normal, everyday fashion item to this point. So you imagine how good it would feel to someone who's younger and worried about people making fun of them or whatever, to just have to wear AirPods and never have to explain that particular thing.
Yep.
Right? I think this is amazing. The only thing that I don't know how it would work, but I think it would also be cool to have it as a feature that any AirPod user could just turn on, even if only for temporary, because I understand you wouldn't want to cause hearing damage for someone. But there are definitely situations where you're forced to be somewhere and we're in that room, in the South Hall, and the dude's giving a great presentation on Da Vinci, but then he talks a little bit like this. Mm-hmm. I would want to just crank up my own AirPods and, get a temporary fix. And then, I understand for decibel reasons, you wouldn't want to do it unless you needed it, but it would be a nice feature to be able to turn on every once in a while for those situations.
There's a lot going on here, including, you use machine learning to detect voices and you elevate the voices. And I know that Apple's doing some of that too, where the voices come up and the background sound goes down. And there are rumors about Apple maybe having AirPods in the future have temperature detection in them, so they actually get a better read on your body temperature. There are rumors about cameras in AirPods, which always seems a little bit weird, but if they could do it right, it could potentially do things like directionality so that it has an even better idea of focusing the sound where you're looking, although you can do that with microphones too. There's a lot of other, I feel like this is just the beginning of this. And Alex is absolutely right. Of course, Apple started having conversations where they said, look, we've got these things. They're computers. They're in people's ears. We can do this tech now, but it's not legal for us to do this. Please let us do this. Yeah. And now we've gotten to the point where they're embarking on this journey. And I feel like culturally, and I got this a lot last week from people after we were talking about this. Culturally, yes, a lot of people still read you've got AirPods or anything else in your ears as you're not listening to me. But you know what? Cultural signifiers change. They do. Yep. They change over time. And we've seen since the software updates last year and the year before, the fact is you can talk to people. I do it now. You can talk to people with your AirPods and you pause the podcast or the music. You're using a transparency mode of some sort. You can hear every word they say, and then you're good to go. And I think that will happen with this pretty fast, in fact.
And other things that we already see in other headsets. I mean, being able to do translation. So you're in Paris and someone's talking to you in French and you're hearing them in English.
Exactly.
That's probably a couple updates away. Mm-hmm. And that can also be I want to listen to it. You just define what that language is. You see this, multi-language events, and theoretically all of those things can be something that's doing automatically.
Yeah,
man, and that's what's really going to shine. And to Jason's point about, I used to wear my AirPods as a signifier. Sometimes not listening to anything, but it's a signifier that I'm doing something.
I know. I was a little bummed out about the idea that people would think that I could actually hear them when I'm putting part of the reason I put the headsets in, part of the nice thing about it being really white and bright white is hey, I can't hear you.
Yeah. It's leave me alone. This is a D&D sign. Not don't talk to me at all.
Yeah, it turns out it's actually now it's the other way. It's just look, cultural signifiers evolve, and if people can hear you while wearing headphones, then everybody will realize people can hear you while wearing headphones. All right, we are going to come back in a moment with our picks of the week and anything else that we think of before we wrap the show this time. You are watching and listening to MacBreak Weekly. Pick time. Let's start with Alex. Alex, now Doc is here, so you really got some competition for the most expensive pick of the week.
I didn't go.
Let's see what happens.
I didn't go very expensive.
Okay, good. All right.
So I use, there's one of the things we use in a lot of the devices that we have. Sony made a battery, and it is these, and basically it's what's called the MPF 970. But there's a lot of different ones. They're thinner, they're thicker. We use them in a lot of my sound devices equipment. You use them. A lot of people took on using these batteries. Doc's got one there. Small Rig came out with this style of battery, but one of the things that they changed is they put a USB-C input into it so that you can just charge the battery by plugging a USB-C in. I mean, the problem with these batteries, by the way, and here's what they look like. The problem with these batteries is you always have to figure out where the charger is. Like, what happened to the charger? And I have to figure out where to put the charger and all these other things. Being able to, it's so genius. And Small Rig, I have a lot of Small Rig batteries. I mean, I have the 99s and the 212s and these other big ones that I use on my camera. But being able to have these smaller ones, and the reason I wanted to pick it was not just because I think it's really cool that this battery works this way, but I would love to see more batteries with this kind of interface. So it also tells you what percentage. You can just tap on it and it'll tell you what the percentage of battery is left. But the ability to have these production batteries be able to just be charged by USB-C rather than finding these. I mean, finding chargers for large production batteries is no small feat. And so and then you have to carry them with you, and then you have to put them in your bags and everything else. And just being able to have batteries that I can just plug into I was doing a couple shoots last week in Dallas. And, I've got 5 of these other Small Rig batteries. And instead of trying to figure out where the chargers are going to go for these V mounts, I just set them all on the desk, plug them all into a GAN charger, and leave them overnight, and they're all done. And so that's what this one does. And it's great. And it comes in lots of colors. I bought the orange one because that was the only one available in the time frame I needed. And first I was like, oh, it's really ugly, but it's much easier to find.
It's so much easier to find it.
I was like, okay, I don't mind it. So a little bit of, it's not quite as fashionable as the black one, but it's really easy to find in your bag. So anyway, that's it. Small Rig, the MP of F970 rechargeable battery with USB-C.
Awesome. Doc, all right. What about you? What do you have for us?
First of all, Alex, I have those batteries for my Fuji X100 5 and 6. And same thing. Just not having to look for a charger is a game changer. Yeah. I've been using them since the 6 came out. So trust me, people, they're worth it. Anyway, I wanted to introduce you guys to something called scenery.video. Scenery is basically an online editor. Now, I am Final Cut user through and through. I'm a card carrying Final Cut certified instructor. But sometimes when I need to crank out short videos or just get something out really quick, me going into Final Cut is the same thing as me sitting down to just have a 5-minute conversation about Star Wars. It's no such thing. So what I like about this, here's a really good in-browser nonlinear editor that does a couple of things. I can work with my clients. They can see what I'm doing right away. It does AI cut downs of longer podcasts. So I can take this podcast and go, just make me 2 short clips about the Apple Vision Pro section, and we would get to hear Jason's amazing line read, and I could put that in a 16:9 format and send it to YouTube Shorts. Here's what the thing is clutch. It even gives me the overlays for Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube so that I can see where the UI would normally be in the way when I go really to cut this clip, right? So it is a fast, back what we would call an offline editor. It's a very fast for that. But even if you just need to get, normal editing done, you're good. It has most of the stuff that most people need. It's never going to place Resolve or, Premiere and Lumetri or Final Cut Pro, no matter how much you people yell at my favorite app. I don't care. I still love it. I got friends from when we worked there. This is amazing, and it's super inexpensive, and it makes editing approachable for those people, like we talked about this whole show, those people who would never edit. iMovie is really dumb at this point. It really should just disappear. This is really, really good. And it's easy. The team is incredible. The best thing about it, I can invite all of you guys to my editing project. You guys can leave comments. You can move things around like the whole 9 yards. It's glorious. It's kind of like if you were to take a web editor and mix it with Frame.io and kind of the same thing, and still have some AI stuff that you can do for removing filler words and creating extra clips and finding the hot spots. Like, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's definitely worth a try. Scenery.video. And it's integrated into Ecamm. So when you finish the recording, you just press a button and we send it there anyway.
Very nice. Thank you. Now, before we go on, sometimes the gates happen even before we get to the end of the show. So I'm just going to throw something out there that passed Andy's eyes during the show, which is if you are using what is it, the M3,
the M4 iPad Pro,
M4 iPad Pro, and you haven't updated yet, maybe hold off, because there were some people complaining that they got bricked. Although, according to this report from Cult of Mac, they may have actually limited the rollout to those devices while they investigate the problem. Just keep your eyes peeled and be careful out there, because software updates, as always, you never know what might happen.
According to Cult of Mac, by the way, if you've already updated, you're good.
You're okay.
It's just that there seems to be a bug that is affecting some iPad M4 owners that during the update, it just bricks and you can't restart it.
Right.
And for that reason, Apple's no longer offering that update to the
So
M4,
if you try to update and you're like, why won't it update? The answer is Apple is trying to protect you because there might be something wrong with the update until they put it back out there. So if they put it back out there, you could take your chances there, because they let's just step this through. So they pulled it off, which means when it is offered again in a couple of days, maybe you'll be fine.
Amity Island is going to be open this weekend, and I'll tell you something, it's going to be the best 4th of July ever.
Good luck, everybody. Okay, one more pick. It's coming from Andy and Nako.
A couple of really quick ones. Tonight, Tuesday night and Wednesday night, in most of North and South America, most of Africa, really, really widespread. We got ourselves a partial lunar eclipse, folks, and it's a harvest moon and it's a super moon. So if you ever want to just look at a real pretty moon, tonight and tomorrow night, it's going to be 2 really great nights to do it. Taking pictures of the partial lunar eclipse, harvest moon, super moon, also a really good thing. I've already taken my practice photo last night. I've learned in the past month that every time I've tried to take pictures of the moon, I've had absolutely the wrong idea that you need a fast shutter speed and you can handhold it. You don't just have a long shutter speed, because the darn thing's moving. The moon is, so it's not.
Shifty.
If you want to get that super sharp thing, pump up the ISO all the way to the top and allow AI like denoisers to do your work for you. But good thing to take a moment, check when sundown and lunar rises is tonight. But I also wanted to shout out you, Jason, and to Dan Morin, 10th anniversary of 6colors.com. I love both of you. I love the work that you did. I love when you tell the story in your anniversary post of how you two basically left a ship that was not, you've been trying to repair and trying to steer very well, but unfortunately there were winds, corporate winds that were driving you towards the rocks.
The headwinds.
And then you and Dan said, you know what? Why don't we get off this ship? Why don't we build our own ship? And 10 years from now, we could have something really, really awesome that's quite important. And that's what you guys did. 6colors.com. It's on. I have to tell you that it's one of those sites that I love reading. I try not to read it so much before I've talked about a news topic or written about it, because it's like, damn, Dan already wrote a really good piece about that, and I should just link to it. I shouldn't talk about that. Damn it, Jason has a much better take on this than I would have had, and now I'm afraid that I'm going to inadvertently steal some of his ideas, or that anything I write is not going to be as good as his take on it. So if there's a reason why I'm not 100% up to date on 6colors content, it's because the content is just so damn good. That's more than just you and Dan now. A lot of the superstars of Apple writing and elsewhere are attracted to it, and that's a good testimony to how well you guys have run that site and how valuable it is to everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Andy. That's very kind of you. Yeah, Monday was 10 years that I started the Upgrade podcast with Mike Hurley, and 10 years that we started 6 Colors. and Dan had a post the next day, and off to the races. Since then, 10 years, hard to believe. That was the iPhone 6 was my first post. Review of the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus, which is a big moment for Apple because that is really when the iPhone sales started shooting up to the stratosphere, was with bigger phones that were more popular in more places. Who knew? Samsung apparently. But anyway, they figured it out eventually, and the rest is history. And it's good to be here outside of the corporate media executive sphere that I was in for a while, and not very happy. And I've been happy as a clam for the last decade. So here's to thousands more posts and podcasts and everything else, including this one. So one last time around the horn before we say goodbye. Doc Rock, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find you?
You can find me all over the interwebs at DOCROCK. And YouTube is the most common place. I do live streams every Tuesday and Saturday, mostly to help creators, people who have this idea, I want to create a podcast, I want to create a video, I don't know where to start, I'm a little bit afraid. I'm trying to drag more people into doing what we do because I think telling stories is super important.
Awesome. Thank you. Alex Lindsay, what do you have going on?
We had such a great session this morning on office hours. So Jet Set Pro, so Elliot Mack, who is in the Pixel Core over 20 years ago, figuring out how to do graphics. and now he has this incredible camera tracking app that you can put your phone on top of a regular camera. It'll triangulate the difference and be able to track something live. So you can actually track it either in the phone or on your cameras. It's just incredible. And he had a great session. We walked through it. So you can check it out. It's Jet Set Pro. It just came out this morning. We just did it a couple hours ago. And I would definitely, it's an incredible iPhone. It's iPhone only, but it's an iPhone only app for pre-visualization and camera tracking.
I played with that at NAB. It's glorious.
Awesome.
It's so cool. Like I got a whole bunch of people who were watching it that weren't watching live, and I kept on getting, I must have this. I must have this. So for filmmakers who want to add any kind of visual effects, it's an incredible solution.
And Andy and Atco, what do you have going on?
I'm going to be on Boston's NPR station WGBH Thursday, 12:45. Go to wgbhnews.org to stream it live or later. And you spell my last name, Ihnatko, Ihnatko, on pretty much any unpalatable social media network to get my quips, reactions, photos of mink. I didn't know there were mink in the little lagoon behind the library, but I came across a mink. I had my camera out, and who knew? Anyway, stuff like that.
Look for Andy wherever there is a palatable social media network. Yes. I love that. You can find my work, as Andy pointed out already, at sixcolors.com. I do podcasts, including Upgrade at Relay.fm and others at theincomparable.com. And next week, you're not going to believe this, Leo's going to be back. Uh-oh, Dad's back. Dad's back. But we've had a great time these last 2 weeks. Thank you so much to everybody at Twit for letting me sit in the virtual big chair. And it's been a fun 2 weeks, but we'll be back at it again next time. Thanks again to Andy and Alex and Doc. Thank you so much for guesting. And thanks to all of you for watching and listening to MacBreak Weekly. We really appreciate it. And sadly, I got to break it to you because Leo's not here. Look, I should be like that kid who's in charge of the class. Break time is never over. I am not the teacher. Don't go back to work. See you next week.